Imagine facing rejection and not feeling crushed, but calm. Imagine hearing no, and instead of shrinking, you grow stronger, clearer, and more confident in who you are. But tell me the truth. How many times have you let rejection control your emotions, your self-worth, your actions? How many times has it stopped you from trying again? The way you respond to rejection defines the strength of your character. If you face it with courage, with understanding, with the right mindset, rejection becomes a tool, a fire that forges resilience, clarity, and progress. But if you run from it, fear it, or let it define you, then every no will feel like a door slamming shut on your future. Today, you're going to learn how to face rejection like a Stoic. You'll discover 13 powerful tactics that will turn rejection from something you avoid into something you use. These aren't just motivational words. These are real, time-tested principles that will help you stop reacting and start rising. So get ready, because after this video, rejection will no longer be your enemy. It will be your teacher. Before we start, I want you to make a commitment to yourself. Write in the comments, "Starting today, I will not fear rejection. I am Stoic." You won't just be writing a phrase, you'll be setting a new standard for yourself. You'll be telling your mind that rejection is not the end, it's the beginning of strength. So write it now, and let's begin. Number 1. Build a rejection portfolio, like an artist's portfolio. Rejection hurts, it stings, it shakes your confidence and makes you question your path. But what if I told you that every rejection you've ever faced, every no, every silence, every closed door is actually part of something bigger, something that can become one of your greatest strengths? Think about an artist. When they're just starting out, their early work is rough, messy, imperfect, but they keep going. They don't throw it all away. They collect their drawings, their paintings, their mistakes, and their breakthroughs. They build a portfolio, not just of success, but of progress, and that portfolio tells a story. You need to do the same with rejection. Start building your rejection portfolio. Every time you face rejection, whether it's from a job, a person, a client, or even life itself, write it down. Don't hide it. Document it. Include the date, the situation, what you were hoping for, what actually happened, and most importantly, how it made you feel. Be honest. Be raw. Don't sugarcoat it. Why? Because rejection only controls you when you avoid looking at it. When you ignore rejection, it becomes a shadow that follows you. But when you write it down, when you turn it into data, it loses its power over you. It becomes part of your story, not the end of it. The Stoics believed in facing reality head-on. They trained themselves to see things not as they should be, but as they are. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That includes rejection. You can't control whether someone accepts you, but you can control how you respond and how you grow from it. Every rejection has something to teach you. Maybe it reveals a weakness you need to strengthen. Maybe it shows you that your current path isn't aligned with your purpose. Or maybe, just maybe, it's testing your resilience, sharpening your character, and preparing you for something greater. But you'll only see that if you track it. Your rejection portfolio is not a place for shame. It is a record of courage. Every entry is proof that you tried, that you put yourself out there, that you didn't hide in comfort or fear. That's more than most people ever do. And over time, something amazing happens. When you flip back through your entries, weeks later, months later, you begin to see a pattern. growth, strength, clarity. You'll start to realize that the things that once broke you now barely shake you. The no's that once felt like walls now feel like stepping stones. This portfolio becomes your proof of resilience. It becomes a mirror that reflects your journey. Not just your wins, but your evolution. And just like an artist can look back on their old sketches and see how far they've come, you'll look at your early rejections and feel something powerful, pride. You'll stop fearing rejection because you'll know it's part of the process. You'll expect it, welcome it, use it. Before a Stoic philosopher spoke, they often prepared their minds. They reflected on what might go wrong. They practiced negative visualization, not to become pessimistic, but to train themselves to be calm when things didn't go their way. They weren't caught off guard by hardship. They trained for it. Your rejection portfolio is part of that training. It's your battlefield journal, your daily reminder that you are stronger than disappointment, stronger than silence, stronger than any no. So, here's your action step. Create a space, physical or digital, where you'll record every rejection moving forward. Make it simple, clear, organized, and consistent. And don't just write down the facts. Reflect. What did you learn? What can you improve? How did you respond? Did you grow? Did you give up? Or did you keep moving? This practice is not just about remembering, it's about transforming. Because every time you add to that portfolio, you are writing a story of someone who doesn't fold under pressure, someone who turns obstacles into opportunities, someone who doesn't just talk about Stoicism, but lives it. Most people run from rejection. You won't. You'll study it, record it, learn from it. That's what makes you different. And when the world sees your growth, when the people who once rejected you look again and see your strength, you'll realize something powerful. It was never about them. It was always about who you were becoming. So don't fear rejection. Track it, understand it, use it. Let it become your portfolio of strength, because every no brings you one step closer to the yes that actually matters. Let rejection shape you, not break you. This is the Stoic path. Number 2, convert rejection into data for pattern recognition. Rejection feels personal. It feels like someone looked at you, your work, your effort, and decided it wasn't enough. It's easy to take it to heart, to spiral into self-doubt, to see it as a reflection of who you are. But stop for a second. Breathe. What if rejection isn't personal at all? What if it's just information? That's exactly how a Stoic would see it. Imagine being able to look at rejection not with frustration, but with curiosity. Like a scientist, like a strategist. Not to feel worse, but to learn more. Because behind every no is a message. And if you learn how to read it, you gain an edge that most people never see. So, here's your next tactic. Stop taking rejection emotionally. Start treating it like data. That's right, data. When something doesn't go your way, don't just feel it. Analyze it. Write it down. Not just what happened, but how it happened. What words did they use in their response? Was there silence instead of feedback? Was the timing off? Did you get rejected for similar reasons before? Are you seeing patterns? Because you will, if you look closely enough. Maybe you notice that when you send proposals late at night, they're ignored. Maybe job interviews always end with the same phrase. We're looking for someone with more experience. Maybe people say your work is good, but not great. That's not failure. That's feedback, hidden in plain sight. And when you treat rejection like data, you gain clarity. You begin to see where the blind spots are. You start to identify where you're falling short, not from shame, but from a place of power. Like an athlete reviewing game tape, you get to ask, where can I improve? What can I do differently next time? This is how Stoics approached life. They didn't guess. They observed. They reflected. They adjusted. Epictetus taught that it's not events that disturb us, but our judgments about those events. Rejection is the event, but judgment is your reaction. Your mind decides whether it becomes weakness or wisdom. The world is full of people who give up after one rejection, or two, or five. But you're building a system. You're using every rejection as a data point, each one sharpening your strategy and deepening your self-awareness. Start keeping a simple rejection log. Every time it happens, record what you were trying to achieve, who you reached out to, what exactly was said or not said, when it happened, how it made you feel, and most importantly, what you can learn from it. Then step back. Look at 10 rejections together, 20. Look for patterns, look for clues. You might start to notice that your message is unclear, or that you're targeting the wrong audience, or that your timing is always off. Maybe you're underprepared. Or maybe you're doing everything right and the no simply means not yet. Either way, this practice gives you perspective. It takes you out of the storm of emotion and into the calm of analysis. You're not guessing anymore. You're learning. This is what makes you dangerous. Not in a reckless way, but in a focused way. You're not someone who blindly repeats mistakes. You refine, you evolve, you adapt. And that mindset is rare. Stoicism isn't about being emotionless. It's about mastering your emotions. And mastery comes from understanding. Understanding comes from observation. Observation comes from slowing down, stepping back, and studying the patterns. Most people treat rejection like poison, but you treat it like a microscope. And the more you do this, the more powerful your next moves become, because now every decision is informed, every effort is sharper, every action is more precise. This is what a Stoic scientist of the self does. They experiment, they take notes, they reflect, and then they return to the world, stronger, wiser, better prepared. Don't just survive rejection, study it. Don't just feel it, measure it. Because rejection is not the enemy. Confusion is. Blind repetition is. Emotion without awareness is. When you turn rejection into data, you strip it of its sting. You take the heat out of it. And you're left with something priceless. Clarity. Clarity leads to improvement. Improvement leads to results. And results lead to the life you're actually capable of living. So don't waste your rejections. Use them. Track them. Study them. Let them show you where to go next. This is how you turn rejection from a wall into a window. From something you fear into something you leverage. This is how you train your mind to rise above the noise and walk the Stoic path with clear eyes and steady steps. Number 3, reframe rejection as a gatekeeper to authenticity. Rejection feels like a closed door, like you were reaching out for something and it slipped right through your fingers. But what if rejection isn't a wall at all? What if it's a filter? A necessary filter that clears the path ahead and protects your energy from what doesn't truly belong to you? You see, most people view rejection as a sign that they're not enough, that they did something wrong, that they should have said something different, acted differently, or changed who they are to be accepted. But a Stoic sees it differently. A Stoic doesn't chase validation. A Stoic doesn't beg for acceptance from people or opportunities that don't align with their principles or purpose. Instead, they understand that not everything and not everyone is meant for them. And that's not failure, that's protection. Rejection is not always a punishment. Sometimes it's a redirection. Imagine this. You walk through life saying yes to every open door, trying to fit into every group, saying the right words just to be accepted. You end up exhausted, scattered, and disconnected from who you really are. Why? Because you're trying to please the wrong people. You're forcing yourself into places that were never built for your voice, your values, or your vision. That's where rejection comes in. It removes what's not for you. It says, not this way, not this place, not this time. And instead of seeing that as an attack, you can learn to see it as guidance. If someone says no to you, not because you were unkind or lazy or careless, but simply because you were being yourself, then good. That no is working in your favor. It's saying, this path doesn't align with your truth. Keep moving. Keep searching. The right space will recognize you. The Stoics valued authenticity over approval. They understood that peace doesn't come from being accepted by everyone. It comes from being aligned with your values, your mission, and your inner compass. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are pained by external things, it is not they that disturb you, but your own judgment of them. And it is in your power to wipe out that judgment now." So if rejection is disturbing you, ask yourself, what judgment am I attaching to this? Are you assuming it means you're not worthy? Or are you willing to believe it might mean you're getting closer to your real path? Rejection, when viewed with wisdom, becomes a tool for refinement. It strips away what doesn't belong. It teaches you who your audience truly is. It pushes you toward the places, people, and opportunities where you no longer have to perform, but where you can simply be. And when you find those places, you'll realize something powerful. The earlier rejections weren't setbacks. They were filters. They cleared your path. They protected your time. They forced you to be honest about what really matters. So the next time you get rejected, don't rush to fix yourself. Don't twist your identity just to be accepted. Instead, pause. Ask, was I being honest? Was I aligned with my values? Was I showing up as my true self? If the answer is yes, then the rejection is a gift. It means you stayed true and it wasn't the right fit. Let others chase popularity. You chase purpose. Let others panic when the door closes. You trust that the right ones will open in time, and when they do, you won't need to force anything. You won't need to shrink or edit yourself just to be let in. You'll walk through those doors standing tall, with peace in your heart, knowing you didn't betray yourself to get there. That is the Stoic way. Rejection is not your enemy. It's the gatekeeper that makes sure you end up where you truly belong. Number 4. Practice rejection conditioning to build emotional muscle. What do most people do after rejection? They pull back. They play it safe. They try to avoid the feeling again. And slowly, without even realizing it, they shrink. They stop asking. They stop reaching. They stop living fully. But not you. You're going to train for rejection the way an athlete trains for strength, the way a Stoic trains for life, with intention, with repetition, with discipline. Think about this. If you wanted to grow stronger physically, what would you do? You'd lift weights. You'd push your muscles to the edge. You'd expose yourself to controlled stress on purpose, so that over time you could carry more without breaking. Now ask yourself, why should emotional strength be any different? Just like your body, your mind becomes stronger when it is tested, when it is challenged, when it is pushed to the edge, not to damage you, but to develop you. That's where rejection conditioning comes in. This isn't some abstract idea. It's a practical habit. It means you deliberately put yourself in situations where the chance of being rejected is high, not to be reckless, but to build your tolerance, to face the sting in small, controlled doses until it no longer controls you. You might start small. Ask for a discount at a cafe. Ask someone a bold question. Share an idea that feels a little risky. Propose something outside the norm in a meeting. Request feedback you know might be hard to hear. And when the no comes, and it will, don't flinch. Don't shrink. Just breathe. Observe your reaction and remind yourself, this is training. You are not doing this for approval. You are doing this for resilience. Because every time you get rejected and keep moving, you're telling your mind, I'm not afraid of this anymore. And slowly, your emotional muscle starts to grow. What once felt like failure now feels like feedback. What once triggered self-doubt now builds self-respect. This is not about chasing rejection just to suffer. It's about strategically using discomfort to become emotionally unshakable. Stoics believed in voluntary hardship. Seneca practiced sleeping on the floor and eating simple food to remind himself that he could survive discomfort. Why? So that when life did get hard, he wouldn't break. He'd already trained for it. Rejection conditioning works the same way. You're building up your tolerance so that when the big rejections come, the ones that actually matter, you don't collapse. You stay calm. You stay clear. You stay in control. Because here's the truth. You can't avoid rejection forever. It's part of life. If you want to grow, to lead, to build something meaningful, you will face no again and again. But if you've trained for it, if you've faced 100 small rejections with purpose, then the 101st one won't knock you down. You'll stand up, brush it off, and keep going. That's emotional strength. That's Stoic strength. So build it. Make it a habit to seek out small risks. Not recklessly, but bravely. Stretch yourself. Ask, share, dare. The more you do it, the more neutral rejection becomes. It no longer feels like a threat. It becomes familiar. You begin to see it as a signal that you're pushing your limits. And that's exactly where growth lives. Most people run from rejection. You run toward it. Not to be reckless, but to become resilient. This is rejection conditioning. It's your training ground. And every no you collect on purpose makes you stronger for the ones you can't control later. So ask boldly. Risk discomfort. And remind yourself, every time you're rejected, you're getting one rep stronger. Let others avoid the pain. You're building armor. That is the Stoic way. Number 5. Translate rejection into a reverse roadmap. Rejection often feels like a dead end, like the road you were walking just disappeared beneath your feet. One moment you thought you were moving forward, then suddenly, no, nothing. Silence. A door closed. But what if that rejection isn't the end of the road? What if it's a chance to build a better one? Here's the Stoic mindset. You don't waste pain, you don't waste loss, and you definitely don't waste rejection. You use it. That's where the reverse roadmap comes in. It starts with a simple question. What would the opposite of this rejection look like? Let's say you pitched an idea and it was rejected. Stop. Don't just feel the sting. Study it. Ask yourself, what would full acceptance have looked like? What would success in this situation mean? What would they have said? What would I have needed to do to hear a yes instead of a no? Then reverse engineer it. Break it down, step by step. Work backwards from the version of success you were aiming for, not as a fantasy, but as a strategy. Maybe your idea was rejected because it lacked clarity. Then clarity becomes your first checkpoint. Maybe it was too ambitious without enough proof. Then you need smaller wins to build credibility. Maybe the timing was off. Then you learn to read the environment better next time. You're not just reacting anymore. You're mapping. You're turning rejection into a design challenge. This is how a Stoic approaches adversity, not with frustration, but with curiosity, not by shutting down, but by zooming out. They don't obsess over the no. They ask what the yes would have required, and then build toward it piece by piece. Think of it like this. A rejection is a snapshot, a frozen image of something that didn't work. But hidden in that image is the outline of something that could. If you're willing to slow down and look closer, you'll find clues, not just about others, but about yourself. The reverse roadmap helps you improve with direction, not guesswork. Instead of wandering and hoping, you're designing a path. You're saying, here's what I wanted. Here's what didn't work. Now, what are the skills, actions, and strategies that could create a better outcome next time? Seneca once said, "If one does not know to which port one is sailing, no wind is favorable." That's the power of this exercise. It gives you a port, a vision, a clear end state to guide your improvement. You're no longer just responding to rejection, you're building from it. Here's a practical way to try it. Take one recent rejection, big or small. Write down exactly what the ideal version of that situation would have looked like. What result were you hoping for? What words would you have loved to hear? What actions would have made it a success? Now, reverse it. What would need to happen right before that success? And before that? Keep going backwards until you're back at the start, where you are now. You now have a reverse roadmap, a set of steps, skills, or changes that could make a future yes more likely. Is this a guarantee? No, life doesn't work that way. But it gives you clarity, and clarity leads to better action, better preparation, better decisions. And even if you never reach that exact outcome, this process still sharpens you. It still makes you better. It still brings progress. Because remember, rejection is never just about what didn't happen. It's about what you do next. Most people stop at the no. You keep going. You learn. You plan. You rebuild. Let rejection point the way. Let it challenge you to see the better version and build your way back from it. That is the Stoic way. Number 6. Use rejection to refine your intuition. You know the feeling, that subtle tension in your chest, that quiet hesitation in your gut, that small voice whispering, "This doesn't feel quite right." Before you ask for something, pitch an idea or walk into a room seeking approval. And then, later, the rejection comes. Most people ignore that voice. They override it with hope or anxiety. They say, "Maybe I'm just nervous. Maybe I'm overthinking." But after the rejection, that voice returns. And this time it says, "I tried to tell you." That voice is your intuition. And rejection is one of the best tools you have to sharpen it. You see, intuition isn't magic. It's not some mystical gift. It's the quiet result of observation, memory, and reflection. The more you listen to it and track how often it's accurate, the stronger it becomes. This is where Stoic practice meets self-awareness. The Stoics didn't blindly trust feelings, but they also didn't ignore them. They studied them. They paid attention to inner signals. They knew that wisdom isn't just in the world, it's also in you. You just have to learn how to hear it. And that's what rejection helps you do. Start keeping a simple intuition journal. Nothing fancy. Just a small log you update before and after a decision. Before you ask for something or put yourself out there, take 30 seconds and ask yourself, how does this feel? Am I forcing this? Does this match my values? Does this feel aligned, or am I chasing approval? Write it down, honestly. Don't overthink it. Just capture your gut reaction. Then, after the outcome, especially if it's rejection, go back and compare. Was your intuition trying to warn you? Was there hesitation you ignored? Over time, patterns will emerge. You'll start to see that certain types of tension tend to lead to rejection. You'll notice that when something feels off, it usually is, and slowly your intuition gets sharper. It becomes more accurate, more reliable. This isn't about avoiding discomfort. Stoicism is not about seeking ease, but it is about moving with clarity, acting with awareness, knowing when you're in alignment and when you're just chasing noise. Most people wait for the world to validate them. They wait for someone else to say, you're on the right track. But you're training yourself to hear that voice from within. Because when your intuition is strong, rejection stops feeling like failure. It starts feeling like confirmation. You begin to say, I knew that wasn't right. That wasn't my place. That wasn't my path. And instead of taking rejection personally, you take it seriously. You adjust, you realign, you move forward with more inner peace. This is emotional intelligence, the Stoic way. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself to be still and listen, not just to the noise of the world, but to the movement of his own thoughts. He wrote, "Look within. Within is the fountain of good." That fountain is your intuition. But like any tool, it must be sharpened through use. Let rejection be the sharpening stone. Each no is a chance to ask, did I really believe in that request? Was that truly me, or was I trying to impress, to gain, to prove something? The more honest you are in that reflection, the stronger your compass becomes. And one day, you'll find yourself walking away from opportunities before they even reject you, not out of fear, but out of wisdom. You'll know they're not for you. You'll trust your gut. You'll move with quiet confidence, because external validation is unpredictable. But inner clarity, that's yours to build. So use rejection, not just to toughen your skin, but to tune your instincts. Let it refine the voice that says, this is right, this is real, this is me. That is the Stoic way. Number 7. Transform rejection into a strategic pause. Rejection doesn't just hurt, it provokes. It stirs something inside you, that immediate rush to fix things, to prove yourself, to bounce back as quickly as possible, just to feel like you're in control again. You get a no, and the first instinct is to chase the next yes, to try harder, to move faster. But the Stoic does not rush. The Stoic pauses. When life pushes back, the Stoic doesn't panic. They reflect. And that's exactly what rejection is. A moment asking you not to push harder, but to pause smarter. We live in a culture obsessed with constant movement, hustle, action, speed. But what good is moving quickly if you're moving in the wrong direction? What use is momentum if it's pulling you away from your purpose? Rejection offers a rare gift, a break in the noise. It's a natural stopping point, a space where you're not moving forward or backward, a moment where you can simply stop and see things clearly. Instead of trying again immediately, Ask yourself, was I moving with intention? Or was I just chasing something because I feared standing still? Was I on the right path, or just the most familiar one? Did I really want that outcome, or was I acting from pressure or ego? Sometimes rejection is a message, not that you're failing, but that you're forcing, that you're out of rhythm, that something in your approach, your direction, or even your purpose needs to shift. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If you are troubled by external things, it is not they that disturb you, but your own judgment about them." In other words, rejection itself is not the problem. It's how we interpret it. Most people rush to erase the discomfort, but the Stoic looks deeper and asks, "What is this trying to teach me?" That question only comes when you pause, when you resist the urge to act and instead allow yourself to think. Think about elite athletes. After a loss, they don't immediately enter the next match. They study the footage. They assess their performance. They rest. They reflect. They use the pause not as a retreat, but as a reset. And when they return, they're sharper, mentally and physically. You can do the same. Rejection is not always a call to try harder. Sometimes it's a call to rest, to heal, to develop. Maybe you've been pushing too long without clarity. Maybe you've been chasing goals that no longer align with who you are. Maybe it's time to pivot, or dig deeper into your craft, or simply take a breath before you make your next move. This pause doesn't make you weak. It makes you wise. Most people panic when things don't go as planned. But you stop, you breathe, you ask better questions, you realign. And when you do act again, it's not from fear, it's from focus. Rejection becomes your checkpoint, not your defeat. It becomes the moment you turn inward, recenter your vision, and prepare for your next move with greater awareness. Because when you act without reflection, you repeat mistakes. But when you pause with purpose, you return with power. So next time you're rejected, don't try to prove anything. Don't rush to fix or fight or force. Just pause. Quiet the noise. Sit with the discomfort long enough to understand it. Let rejection be the space where your next strategy is born. Let it be your moment of clarity. And when you return to the path, walk with deeper strength, because you didn't react. You chose. Number 8. Turn rejection into an opportunity to expand your identity. Rejection often feels like the world saying, "You're not enough." And when you hear that, your first reaction might be to shrink, to doubt yourself, to wonder if maybe you should stop trying, stay small, or only show the parts of yourself that feel safe. But a Stoic sees rejection differently. Rejection is not a sign that you are broken. It's a sign that one version of you, a specific expression, a particular mask, a narrow presentation, didn't fit in a specific moment. And that moment does not define you. It reveals something deeper, the invitation to explore more of who you are. You are not just one identity. You are not a single role, a single talent, or a single idea. You are complex. You are layered. You are still unfolding. Rejection, when approached with courage, becomes a mirror. It asks, what part of me have I hidden? What strength, perspective, or passion have I pushed down just to be accepted? Too often, we present a version of ourselves that we believe others will approve of. We do it in relationships, in work, in creative expression. We shape ourselves to fit into boxes we didn't choose. And when rejection comes, we think, I wasn't good enough. But maybe the real issue is this. You weren't full enough. Not fake, not forced, just not full. You were showing one side of yourself while leaving so many others unexplored. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily that we are more than what others think. He said, "The opinion of 10,000 men is of no value if none of them know anything about the subject." Sometimes the subject is you, and the rejection isn't a true judgment. It's a reflection of someone who only saw one layer of your depth. So here's the shift. When you're rejected, don't just ask, "Why didn't this version of me get accepted?" Ask instead, "What other parts of me haven't I expressed yet?" Maybe the rejection you faced came after showing your logical side. What would happen if you showed your creative side? Maybe you presented yourself as serious and focused. What would happen if you allowed people to see your humor, your passion, or your wild ideas? Maybe you played small to be safe. What if rejection is a signal that it's time to play bigger, not smaller? This is not about pretending. It's about expanding, reinventing not who you are, but how much of you you're willing to bring forward. Because real strength isn't about becoming someone else. It's about becoming more of who you already are. Rejection is often the wake-up call, the nudge that says, "You've outgrown the role you've been playing." And once you hear that message, you have a choice. Stay limited or expand into your full potential. Think about every person who ever reinvented themselves after a fall. After being told no, they didn't disappear. They evolved. They tapped into new parts of themselves. They explored skills, identities, and strengths they had ignored. And in doing so, they didn't just recover, they grew. That's available to you too. Let rejection point to the unexplored rooms inside you. Let it show you what you've left behind out of fear, shame, or the desire to fit in. Then open the door. Step in. Try something new. Be someone more. Because you are not fixed. You are fluid. And every rejection is a reminder that you still have more to discover. So when the world tells you no, don't just retreat. Reflect. Expand. Ask what else you're capable of and start becoming it. Not to impress, not to prove, but to grow into the most complete version of who you truly are. Number 9. Use rejection to build empathetic authority. No one likes to be rejected. It stings, it humbles, it can shake your confidence and make you feel like you're standing on uncertain ground. But if you handle it with grace, if you face it, learn from it, and grow through it, you gain something far more valuable than just another success. You earn authority, not the loud, showy kind that demands attention, but the quiet, steady kind that draws people in. The kind of authority built not from theory, but from experience. That's what Stoics valued. Not titles, not applause, but lived truth, grounded wisdom, and nothing grounds you like rejection. When you've faced rejection and come out the other side, not bitter, but better, you become someone others trust. Not because you've had a perfect path, but because you haven't. Because you've fallen, failed, and still chosen to rise. This is what makes you a leader. People don't follow the one who's never struggled. They follow the one who has suffered and yet stayed standing. The one who knows how it feels to be on the outside. The one who remembers what it's like to hear no and still believe in themselves anyway. Rejection gives you that memory, that empathy, that edge. It teaches you what it means to want something deeply and not get it. It shows you the pain of being misunderstood, overlooked, or told you're not ready. And when you finally grow into a position of influence, whether that's in your career, your community, or even your family, those experiences become your foundation. You don't just give advice, you give truth. Because you've been there, and people can feel that. Stoic leaders like Marcus Aurelius didn't preach from a place of superiority. He reminded himself constantly that he too would fail, be rejected, and face resistance. His wisdom came from his willingness to endure and reflect, not just to rule. So when you face rejection, don't just think about what it means for you right now. Think about who it's helping you become for the future. Because one day, someone will come to you, hurt, discouraged, lost. And they won't need your success story. They'll need to know that you once felt exactly as they do, and that you didn't give up, that you didn't let rejection close your heart or your voice, that you kept going, that you got stronger, and that they can too. This is what Stoics call turning adversity into advantage, not just for yourself, but for others. Your pain becomes purpose. Your failure becomes service. Your no becomes a lesson you can pass on. But only if you pay attention. Only if you sit with rejection long enough to extract its wisdom. Only if you don't waste it. So don't hide your scars. Don't erase your setbacks. Let them show. Let them become part of your story, not as shame, but as strength. Because that's what makes people listen to you. Not your perfection, but your perseverance. Rejection is your training. Not just for inner strength, but for future leadership. For real influence. For the kind of authority that doesn't need to shout, because it speaks directly to the soul. You will face more no's. That's part of life. But every time you overcome one, you're not just moving forward, you're collecting empathy capital. Quiet power, lived wisdom, the kind of experience that can't be faked or fast-tracked. And one day, when you're guiding others through their storms, you'll be the calm they trust. Not because you read the map, but because you've walked the path. Number 10. Treat rejection as a creativity trigger. Rejection shakes things. It interrupts your rhythm. It throws off your plans. It hits deep. Because in that moment, you feel unseen, unheard, unvalued. And when that pain rises, your instinct may be to shut down, to go numb, to distract yourself, to move on quickly and pretend it didn't affect you. But that's not the Stoic path. The Stoic doesn't suppress pain. They use it. They turn disruption into direction. They transform emotional energy into meaningful action. And one of the most powerful ways to do that is through creativity. Rejection stirs something inside you, a fire, a sense of tension, urgency, or frustration. And instead of letting that energy go to waste, you can channel it into writing, into art, into invention, into humor, into creating something that didn't exist before. Some of the most iconic works in history were born in the chaos after rejection. Great novels, breakthrough ideas, timeless speeches, and unforgettable music, all fueled by people who were told they weren't good enough. People who took that pain and turned it into purpose. And you can do the same. Rejection gives you raw material. It hands you a kind of emotional intensity that you can't fake. It's real, it's human, it's alive. And when you allow yourself to stay with it for just a little while, without turning away or numbing it, it becomes fuel. Maybe you write a journal entry so honest, it surprises you. Maybe you create a design or a song or a story that carries the truth you couldn't say out loud. Maybe you finally dare to express something that's been building inside for years, but needed a spark to be set free. Rejection can be that spark. Marcus Aurelius, in the middle of war, stress, and endless public pressure, wrote thoughts to himself. Simple reflections that later became the Meditations. He didn't write to be admired. He wrote to understand, to process, to create something real in the face of inner chaos. You don't need to be an artist in the traditional sense. Creativity isn't about making perfect things. It's about expressing honest things. It's about taking what's inside and turning it outward, giving form to feeling. And in doing that, you don't just release the pain, you elevate it. You turn something painful into something powerful. Instead of saying, "I was rejected and it broke me," you begin to say, "I was rejected and it woke me." It woke up a part of you that had been quiet, a voice, a perspective, a vision. And when you create from that place, your work carries weight. It resonates, not because it's polished, but because it's real. Creativity doesn't just heal you, it connects you. Your story, your humor, your frustration, your insight, these things, when shared, help others feel less alone. And suddenly, rejection doesn't just push you inward, it pushes you outward into the world, into connection, into contribution. This is the Stoic transformation, turning adversity into art, turning chaos into clarity, taking what was meant to stop you and using it to start something. So next time you're rejected, don't waste that emotional energy. Don't rush to forget it or brush it off. Sit with it, feel it. Then ask yourself, what can I make from this? Write, sketch, build, speak, reflect. Let the no become a canvas. Let the disappointment become momentum. Let the silence you received become a voice you now use. This is not about revenge. This is about expression, liberation, creation. Because when the world shuts one door, the Stoic doesn't sit outside waiting. They pick up a pen, they strike a chord, they make something that cannot be ignored. That is the Stoic way. Number 11. Build a rejection inner circle. Rejection can feel lonely. When it happens, it's easy to believe you're the only one facing it, that others are gliding through life while you're stumbling. You look around and see people posting their wins, their highlights, their success stories, and your failure feels heavier, more personal, more isolated. But here's the truth. Rejection is universal. Everyone experiences it. Everyone fears it. But not everyone talks about it. And that silence is what gives rejection its power. So here's your next Stoic tactic. Stop walking through rejection alone. Build a circle. A small group of people, real people, honest people, who are also putting themselves out there. People who aren't afraid to share their failures, their no's, and their lessons. This is your rejection inner circle. Not a group for complaining or venting endlessly, but a space for truth, for reflection, for shared strength. When you hear others talk about their rejections, something powerful happens. You realize you're not broken, you're normal, you're not behind, you're in the process. And that simple realization removes the shame. It opens the door to insight. It gives you perspective, because your rejection might feel personal until someone else shares a similar story. And suddenly, what felt like a failure becomes just another step on the path. The Stoics believed in community. They didn't isolate themselves in pain. They shared wisdom in conversation. They sharpened each other through dialogue. They reminded one another of what mattered. Rejection becomes easier to bear when it is shared and spoken. So seek out or form your circle. It doesn't have to be large. 2 to 5 people is enough. What matters is trust, honesty, and a shared commitment to growth. Make it a practice. Once a week, once a month, whatever works. Sit down and ask, what risks did I take recently? What rejections did I face? What did I learn? What would I do differently next time? And just as important, listen. Listen to the others. not to compare, but to connect. Let their courage fuel yours. Let their perspective help you reframe your own experience. Over time, this circle becomes more than support. It becomes a source of boldness. You take bigger risks because you know you'll have a space to land, to reflect, and to rise again. You learn faster because you're not just learning from your own failures, you're learning from everyone's. It's like building a library of lived experience, a feedback-rich environment where rejection is not a weakness, but a currency of growth. You'll notice something else too. You become less afraid. The fear of being judged starts to fade. Because when you spend enough time in a group where rejection is normal, you stop giving it the power to define your worth. And that makes you dangerous, in the best way. You stop hesitating. You stop tiptoeing around opportunities. You act. You ask. You try. Not because you're sure it will work, but because you know you'll survive if it doesn't. That's strength. That's emotional maturity. That's Stoicism in practice. So don't walk this path alone. Find others on the same journey. Share your scars. Exchange your wisdom. Celebrate effort, not just outcomes. Because courage is contagious. And when you surround yourself with people who don't fear rejection, you stop fearing it too. Let the world chase applause. You'll chase growth. Let the world hide their losses. You'll share yours and rise with others. That is the Stoic way. Number 12. Frame rejection as resistance training for purpose. Every time you hear the word no, you're standing at a crossroads. One path leads to doubt. You start wondering if you're on the wrong track, if maybe you're not cut out for this, if all this effort is just wasted time. But the other path leads somewhere different, deeper, stronger. That path asks a simple, powerful question. Is this rejection enough to make me quit? If the answer is no, then congratulations. You've just strengthened your purpose. Rejection, when viewed through a Stoic lens, is not a sign that you're off course. It's a test. It's resistance. And resistance is how you grow. Think of your purpose like a muscle. You don't build it by comfort. You build it through tension. You grow it through challenge, through repetition, through showing up when it's hard, when it hurts, when the outcome is uncertain. That's what rejection is. Resistance training for your deeper why. And each time you get knocked back and choose to keep going, not with blind optimism but with clear intention, you're telling the world and yourself, I still believe in this. That's not delusion. That's discipline. Every meaningful path is tested. Every strong purpose is questioned. If it's never challenged, it's probably not deep enough, or real enough, or yours. Marcus Aurelius faced constant setbacks, political failure, war, betrayal, and still he wrote to himself, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Rejection isn't in the way. It is the way. If you're on the right path, rejection won't stop you. It might slow you. It might humble you, but it won't turn you around. In fact, the more rejections you face and overcome, the more clarity you gain. Your why becomes sharper, cleaner, stronger. Not because the world made it easy, but because you chose it anyway. That's when purpose becomes power. So the next time you're rejected, whether from a job, a person, a creative opportunity, or a big risk, don't just feel the loss. Step into the gym of your purpose. Ask yourself, does this no change what I believe in? Does it change where I'm going? Or does it only prove that I'm still willing to fight for it? That's where real confidence is built, not from external approval, but from internal alignment. And if you do realize the rejection shook your path, if it makes you question whether you were chasing something for the wrong reasons, that's a gift too. Because now you can redirect with honesty, not ego. You can course correct before you waste more time climbing the wrong mountain. Either way, you win. You either double down on your true path or you refine it. That's what Stoicism is about. Not ignoring discomfort, but learning from it. Letting it sharpen you. Letting it guide you back to what matters. Because your purpose isn't proven in success. It's proven in the moments you don't give up. Rejection doesn't mean you're not ready. It means you're being asked to prove to yourself that you're serious, that you're committed, that you're not just in this for the applause, but for something deeper. You're in it because it matters. So next time the world tells you no, pause and ask, does this change my mission? If it does, adjust. If it doesn't, advance. Let rejection be your test. Let it be your weight. Lift it, again and again, until you realize that every no isn't stopping you, it's building you. That is the Stoic way. Number 13, use rejection to cultivate strategic indifference. Rejection can feel like a spotlight. One moment, everything is quiet. The next, all your attention floods into that one word, no. Suddenly, your focus narrows, your emotions spike, your confidence wavers, and it feels like that one rejection is everything. But here's the truth, it's not. One no is not the whole story. One closed door is not the whole journey. And one person's opinion is not the measure of your worth or your future. This is where Stoic discipline comes in, not through cold detachment, but through strategic indifference. Strategic indifference is not apathy. It's not about being numb, careless, or emotionless. It's about control. It's about training yourself to care more about the long game than any single moment. It's about choosing not to let one rejection hijack your emotional clarity or your long-term mission. You're not here to win every small battle. You're here to stay in the war for the right reasons. A Stoic doesn't ignore pain, but they don't obsess over it either. They feel it, learn from it, and then they move forward. Marcus Aurelius faced betrayal, loss, criticism, and still, he chose calm. He chose focus. He reminded himself, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. That's the heart of strategic indifference, choosing not to give your power away to every single outcome. You're not here to be controlled by every yes or no. You're here to build something that lasts, something that matters, something that can't be shaken by one person's judgment or one closed door. Every time you're rejected, you have a chance to practice this discipline. Step back, breathe. Ask yourself, does this rejection really matter in the grand scheme? Will it stop my progress? Or will I let it pass through me like wind through a tree, felt but not breaking me? This mindset doesn't come overnight. It takes repetition. It takes awareness. But the more you train it, the stronger it becomes. Over time, you'll notice something shift. Rejection still stings, but it doesn't shake you. It no longer steals your focus. You don't spiral. You don't panic. You assess. You adapt. You move forward. You'll also stop chasing things out of desperation. You'll apply, pitch, create, and risk, not because you need approval, but because it aligns with your mission. And if the answer is no, you adjust. You don't attach your identity to every outcome. You attach it to your effort, your principles, your why. This is not about feeling less. It's about feeling right. Your emotions become tools, not traps. Your clarity becomes your compass. And the best part? When you stop overvaluing rejection, you become more dangerous in the best way. You take bigger swings. You speak more freely. You stop editing yourself just to avoid disappointment. And ironically, that's when better results often show up. Because people are drawn to confidence rooted in clarity, not ego, not arrogance, but inner steadiness. So let rejection come, let it test you, and use each test to remind yourself, I don't need this one yes to keep going. I'm playing the long game. That is strategic indifference, and that is Stoic strength. You've made it through rejections. You'll make it through this one, and the next one, and the next. Because your mission is bigger than a single outcome, and your value doesn't rise or fall with anyone's opinion. You are steady, you are grounded, and you are still moving forward. That is the Stoic way. Rejection is not the end of the road. It's a training ground, a mirror, a forge. Across these 13 Stoic tactics, you've seen rejection for what it really is. A teacher that sharpens your purpose, strengthens your emotional muscle, deepens your identity, and frees you from the need for constant approval. You've learned how to build a rejection portfolio, how to study rejection like data, how to turn it into art, into clarity, into quiet confidence, and most importantly, you've seen how rejection, when used wisely, can lead you closer to who you really are. So, here's your moment of choice. Do you fear rejection, or do you use it? If you're ready to turn every no into fuel for something greater, drop this in the comments right now. I don't fear rejection. I forge strength from it. I am Stoic. Let that sentence be more than words. Let it be your declaration. Imagine what it would be like to truly master the art of controlling your mind. A timeless pursuit rooted in the ancient wisdom of Stoic philosophy. This school of thought, which flourished in ancient Greece and Rome, teaches that when we learn to govern our thoughts, emotions, and reactions, we unlock a profound reservoir of serenity and inner virtue that is not dependent on the ever-changing circumstances of life. In this video, we'll explore the core Stoic principles that guide us toward this inner mastery, helping us live a life that is more balanced, meaningful, and fulfilling. By understanding and applying these teachings, it becomes possible to attain a state of serenity that enables us to navigate the highs and lows of life with both grace and wisdom. If this is your first time visiting my channel, I kindly invite you to subscribe and like the video so I can continue sharing content like this in the future. The first Stoic principle revolves around the pursuit of inner peace that stands independent of our external circumstances. The Stoics believed that true happiness and tranquility should never be reliant on the outside world. Instead, they focused on discovering a deep, unshakable inner peace that persists regardless of what is happening around them. This outlook encourages us to remain composed and virtuous, no matter the chaos or instability that may surround us. A central element of this quest for peace is accepting the impermanence of all things. The Stoics recognized that everything in life is temporary. To cling to people, objects, or situations that are inherently fleeting only invites suffering. It is by embracing the impermanent nature of life that they found a lasting peace, one that does not waver with the inevitable changes life brings. Another vital aspect of tranquility is equanimity in the face of adversity. One of the most admirable traits of Stoic philosophy is the ability to meet life's challenges with calm and balance. To the Stoics, hardships were not merely obstacles, but valuable opportunities for growth. These moments allowed them to develop resilience and sharpen their mental strength, turning difficulty into a path for deeper transformation. Achieving inner peace also requires detachment from disturbing emotions. Emotions such as anger, fear, and despair can easily cloud our judgment and control our behavior. The Stoics didn't advocate for suppressing emotions, but rather for acknowledging them without letting them dictate our choices. By doing so, they taught that we could act with clarity and integrity, even in emotional storms. At the heart of Stoic teaching is the idea that true tranquility comes from living in harmony with virtue. When we choose to act with wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance, we nurture a clear conscience. This alignment with virtue protects us from being tormented by guilt, regret, or remorse, and it builds a life rooted in moral strength. Another key Stoic insight is the importance of contentment with sufficiency. The Stoics cautioned against the endless pursuit of wealth, power, or pleasure, which often leads to dissatisfaction. Instead, they promoted the idea of finding joy in having enough. This mindset encourages us to avoid excessive desires and attachments to material things, leading to a simpler, more peaceful life. Serenity in the Stoic view is not just a temporary feeling, but an ideal to strive for over a lifetime. It is not something that is achieved overnight, but rather cultivated gradually through self-awareness, self-discipline, and the steady application of Stoic principles. This long-term pursuit nurtures a quiet strength within us that grows with practice and patience. In seeking tranquility, the Stoics also pursued a deeper kind of freedom. Freedom from the grip of our own emotions, cravings, and the pressures of the outside world. When we are no longer enslaved by these forces, we experience an internal liberation that empowers us to live in accordance with our deepest values and principles. In summary, the Stoic journey toward inner tranquility is one of the fundamental pillars of this philosophy. It emphasizes independence from external circumstances, the acceptance of life's impermanence, the detachment from negative emotions, and the unwavering pursuit of virtue. This path leads to a life that is more serene, ethically grounded, and filled with meaning. A life in which true peace is found not in what surrounds us, but in what resides within us. Let's now explore the second Stoic principle, which centers on the acceptance of what lies beyond our control. This idea is one of the cornerstones of mastering the mind and cultivating a life of calm and wisdom. According to the Stoics, many aspects of life, such as other people's actions, natural events, the past, and even the future, are completely outside our direct influence. The secret to Stoic serenity lies in fully embracing this truth and focusing our energy on what we can control, our own thoughts, choices, and behavior. The Stoics encourage us to clearly understand the boundaries of our control. They urge us to distinguish between what is within our power, our attitudes, responses, and intentions, and what is beyond it. By making this distinction, we can spare ourselves from unnecessary frustration. Recognizing that we cannot change the behavior of others or undo past events helps us let go of needless emotional turmoil. Another powerful idea in this teaching is the release of unrealistic expectations. Much of our suffering comes from hoping that reality will conform to our desires. The Stoics advise us to let go of excessive expectations and to accept life as it truly is. This acceptance doesn't mean becoming indifferent or passive, but rather approaching reality with clarity and strength without being emotionally enslaved to outcomes we can't control. A calm approach to adversity comes from accepting that difficulties are an inevitable part of life. The Stoics cultivate resilience and courage, in order to confront challenges with inner calm. Instead of resisting hardships, we can begin to view them as opportunities for growth and learning. What matters most is our response, not the external event itself. Even though we cannot control external circumstances, we do have the power to govern our reactions to them. The Stoics emphasized that our capacity to choose how we respond is one of the most valuable gifts we possess. As such, we should direct our energy toward developing virtuous reactions, nurturing qualities like patience, compassion, and wisdom. Letting go of attachment to both the past and the future is essential. Constantly worrying about what has already happened or what may lie ahead can rob us of the ability to live fully in the present moment. The Stoics remind us that the past is beyond our ability to change and the future remains uncertain. Therefore, wisdom lies in focusing our attention on the present, the only space where we truly have the power to act and make a difference. Accepting what we cannot control, while continuously striving for virtue and self-improvement, forms one of the key paths to inner peace and wisdom. Stoicism helps us navigate life's uncertainties and challenges with a more centered and resilient mindset, enabling us to live according to the Stoic ideals of a life filled with virtue and meaning. The third core Stoic principle is the pursuit of virtue as the highest good. The Stoics identified 4 cardinal virtues that form the foundation of a virtuous life. These are wisdom, Sophia, courage, Andrea, justice, Dikaiosina, and temperance, Sophrosina. Each of these virtues plays a crucial role in our pursuit of moral excellence. Wisdom, or Sophia, involves the relentless search for knowledge and a deep understanding of both the world and human nature. This includes a commitment to truth, the development of self-awareness, and the discernment to identify what truly matters in life. Courage, or Andrea, is the virtue that enables us to confront fear and act rightly, even in the face of danger or hardship. The Stoics viewed courage as inherently linked with wisdom, since wise judgment is necessary to know which risks are worth taking and how to face adversity effectively. Justice, or Dikaiosina, calls for us to act with fairness, integrity, and respect for the rights and dignity of others. For the Stoics, justice was essential not only for personal virtue, but also for maintaining harmony within society. Temperance, or Sophrosina, is the discipline of managing desires and controlling impulses. It involves avoiding excesses, maintaining balance, and mastering one's emotions so that serenity can be preserved in all situations. Living virtuously is a lifelong journey that requires continuous effort. The Stoics believed that no one is ever fully virtuous, but that every person can work to improve these virtues over time. Virtue is also seen as the true source of happiness. The Stoics taught that genuine fulfillment and meaning come from living a life guided by virtue, regardless of external conditions. Virtue also leads to a form of emotional and spiritual self-sufficiency. This means that our sense of joy and satisfaction does not depend on material wealth, social status, or the approval of others. Instead, happiness stems from inner integrity and moral strength. The pursuit of virtue demands self-control and a willingness to transform oneself. It involves acknowledging our flaws and past mistakes and continually striving to become better human beings. This path of constant improvement and ethical living is what gives life its deepest meaning. Practicing virtue is therefore more than a philosophical idea. It is a way of life that allows us to make just decisions, live harmoniously with others, and contribute to the greater good. In essence, virtue as the highest good lies at the heart of Stoic philosophy. It guides us in our quest for wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance, helping us lead a life that is both virtuous and meaningful. Stoic virtue is not a distant ideal or abstract concept, but a set of guiding principles that can be applied in daily life. These principles empower us to live ethically and peacefully, no matter the external circumstances. The fourth Stoic principle centers on the control of emotions. Mastering our emotions is essential for attaining serenity and virtue. According to Stoic teachings, emotions are powerful and, if left unchecked, can lead us to act impulsively or irrationally. For this reason, the Stoics placed great importance on the regulation of emotional responses. The first step in this process is developing emotional self-awareness, the ability to recognize and understand our emotions as they arise. This involves becoming aware of when we are feeling emotions such as anger, fear, or sadness. Once we identify the emotion we're experiencing, the Stoics suggest cultivating a sense of emotional distance rather than surrendering ourselves entirely to it. They advise taking a mental step back to observe and analyze the situation from a more rational and objective standpoint. The Stoic perspective emphasizes that reason should guide us more than emotion. This means harnessing the power of our rational mind to assess whether a specific emotion is appropriate or beneficial in a given situation. For example, if we find ourselves feeling angry, we should examine whether that anger is justified and whether acting on it would be the right and virtuous choice. After assessing our emotional response, we are encouraged to choose an action that aligns with virtuous principles. Instead of reacting impulsively with anger, we can decide to respond with calmness and empathy. This approach demands self-discipline and consistent effort to reshape our negative emotional responses. Moreover, the Stoics also teach that negative emotions can be transformed into positive, constructive actions. For instance, rather than allowing fear to overwhelm or immobilize us, we can use it as motivation to act wisely and take appropriate precautions. The ultimate aim is to achieve emotional equanimity, a balanced emotional state where we are not ruled by our feelings. This doesn't mean suppressing emotions entirely, but learning to manage them in a way that they do not cloud our judgment or lead us into unwise actions. The Stoics acknowledge that emotions are a natural part of being human. They don't advocate for the total elimination of emotions, but for their thoughtful and virtuous management. Natural emotions like grief in response to loss or joy in moments of success are acknowledged as part of our shared human experience. Mastering our emotions is a continuous and often difficult journey, but it is an essential one for those who wish to lead a more peaceful and morally sound life. The Stoics believe that by regulating our emotional responses and consistently choosing virtuous actions, we can live in harmony with fundamental values such as wisdom, justice, and courage, regardless of what is happening around us. This self-mastery leads us to a deeply cherished inner peace, a hallmark of Stoic philosophy. Another core Stoic principle essential to mastering the mind and living a more meaningful life is the practice of living in the present moment. This principle encourages us to concentrate on the here and now, steering our minds away from dwelling on the past or feeling anxious about the future. Let's explore this idea more deeply. And don't forget to follow us on our daily Stoic TikTok account and across our social platforms like Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Living in the present begins with releasing regret. The Stoics teach that regret over the past serves no useful purpose, since what has happened is beyond our control. Instead of becoming lost in guilt or remorse, we should focus on learning from our mistakes and past experiences. This attitude liberates us from the emotional burden of what can no longer be changed and redirects our energy toward the present moment, where our actions still have power. Equally, the Stoics warn against becoming consumed with worry about the future. While it is wise to plan and prepare, they remind us that the future is inherently uncertain. We should not let fear or anxiety about what might happen take control of our thoughts or actions. Acknowledging this uncertainty helps us remain grounded and make wiser decisions without being overcome by dread. The Stoics also urge us to deeply appreciate the present moment, as it is the only time that truly belongs to us. They invite us to find joy in life's small, everyday moments and to recognize the beauty in the world around us. This mindset doesn't just provide us with a sense of contentment, but it also nurtures a spirit of gratitude and presence. Being fully engaged with our current tasks is another aspect of this teaching. Focusing on the present means giving our complete attention to whatever we are doing. It means resisting distractions and the temptation to multitask, allowing us to perform our duties with greater effectiveness and deeper appreciation. In Stoic thought, the present moment is also seen as our only true source of control. By directing our awareness to the now, we can channel our efforts toward making wise, ethical decisions rather than wasting energy on things that are beyond our influence, especially those rooted in the future. Practices like meditation and mindfulness are useful tools to help us remain anchored in the present. These practices train our minds to become more consciously aware of each moment, reduce mental restlessness, and promote a sense of inner calm. By living more fully in the present, we reduce the emotional suffering that arises from ruminating on the past or fearing the future. This not only enhances our overall well-being, but also sharpens our ability to make thoughtful and ethical choices. In essence, the Stoic principle of living in the present teaches us to cherish the moment we are in, to accept the impermanence of life, and to find meaning and serenity in the here and now. Focusing on the present moment teaches us to cherish the here and now, to embrace life's fleeting nature, and to discover a sense of control and fulfillment in the present. This mindset does not imply forgetting the past or avoiding plans for the future. Instead, it calls us to live intentionally and meaningfully in the present, the only moment over which we truly have influence. This present-centered awareness contributes significantly to a peaceful mind and a more meaningful life. Now, let us move into the sixth Stoic principle. This principle invites us to reassess our relationship with the external world and with sensory experiences, urging us to cultivate a sense of equanimity in response to them. The sixth Stoic principle is the practice of indifference toward pleasures and pains. The Stoics maintain that the restless pursuit of pleasure and the fear of pain are major causes of human suffering. To achieve serenity and live virtuously, it becomes necessary to adopt a posture of healthy indifference toward these experiences. In matters of pleasure, the Stoics do not call for total abstinence. Rather, they advocate for moderation and wisdom. They remind us that the endless chase after pleasure often results in destructive excess. In contrast, the pursuit of moderation allows us to avoid the suffering that comes from overindulgence. The same measured approach applies to pain. Instead of fleeing from discomfort, the Stoics encourage us to face pain and adversity with bravery and composure. These experiences are not enemies to be feared, but opportunities to grow and to fortify the mind. The principle of indifference is at the core of Stoic philosophy. It involves maintaining a neutral attitude toward external conditions, things like wealth, social status, or material success. While these may be part of life, they are ultimately irrelevant to our virtue and happiness. This is not to say we shouldn't enjoy life's pleasures. Rather, we are cautioned against placing our happiness solely in things beyond our control. Emotional detachment is another critical aspect. The Stoics encourage the cultivation of a calm emotional state, one that does not fluctuate wildly with external changes. We are not to be ruled by emotions triggered by gains or losses. Instead, we should strive to establish an inner peace that endures regardless of external circumstances. True happiness, according to Stoic wisdom, is found in the pursuit and embodiment of virtue. By committing to wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance, we access a deeper, more enduring joy than what can be found in temporary sensory pleasures. This approach requires considerable self-control. Practicing indifference toward both pleasure and pain involves freeing ourselves from the tyranny of desires and from the fear of suffering. With this self-discipline, we become capable of making decisions that are both rational and ethical. In conclusion, the practice of indifference to pleasure and pain is a foundational teaching in Stoicism. It teaches us how to create a healthy balance with external and sensory experiences. This discipline helps us avoid excess, reduces unnecessary suffering, and guides us toward deeper contentment through the pursuit of virtue and self-improvement. It is a principle that leads to a more serene and well-balanced life. Now we move on to the seventh and final Stoic principle, which centers on the profound concept of self-knowledge. This idea is not only a pillar of Stoic thought, but also of many other philosophical and spiritual traditions. For the Stoics, understanding oneself is the necessary foundation for mastering the mind, and by extension, mastering life itself. The seventh Stoic principle is self-knowledge, cultivated through continuous and honest self-examination. The Stoics urge us to constantly observe and evaluate ourselves. This means objectively reflecting on our own thoughts, emotions, and actions, much like looking into a mental mirror. Through this practice, we begin to recognize both our strengths and weaknesses, as well as our habitual tendencies. A crucial part of this self-awareness is identifying our desires and aversions. Too often, our lives are governed by irrational cravings or baseless fears that lead to distress. By shining a light on these patterns, we gain the ability to question their truth and begin the process of managing them. The Stoics also encourage us to reflect deeply on our values, the guiding principles that truly matter to us. What are we striving for in life? This type of introspection allows us to align our actions with our most authentic values, fostering a life of greater meaning and purpose. Self-knowledge further involves learning to accept ourselves as we are, embracing both our strengths and our flaws. However, this acceptance does not equate to complacency. Instead, it signifies the honest acknowledgement of where we are and a sincere commitment to continued growth and improvement. Lastly, the Stoics warn us against the danger of self-deception, the tendency to excuse our behavior or rationalize actions that may be harmful. Through the practice of self-knowledge, we can identify when we fall into the trap of self-deception. This continuous process of self-awareness is not an end in itself, but rather a means of achieving self-transformation and ongoing personal growth. By gaining a deeper understanding of ourselves, we can begin to cultivate a more resilient and virtuous mindset. The Stoics emphasize the importance of developing virtues such as courage, temperance, wisdom, and justice. In essence, self-knowledge serves as the solid foundation upon which Stoic philosophy is built, helping us discern what is within our control and what lies beyond it. It allows us to identify our desires and aversions, and, in doing so, to shape our minds according to virtuous principles. This journey of self-discovery empowers us to free ourselves from the bondage of our emotions and thoughts, making us more resilient and wise in the face of life's inevitable challenges. As we explore the principles of Stoic philosophy, we find a roadmap to mastering our minds and, consequently, our lives. From the cultivation of self-knowledge to the pursuit of virtue as the ultimate good, these teachings offer us the tools to navigate the turbulent waters of existence with clarity, wisdom, and ethical integrity. Stoic philosophy teaches us that true wealth is found not in material possessions, but in inner peace, self-transformation, and the relentless pursuit of virtue. In a world that often presents us with challenges and uncertainties, Stoicism offers a guiding light that leads us toward a more balanced and meaningful life. It reminds us that, despite external circumstances, we have the power to shape our minds and choices. In a world overwhelmed by constant stress and pressure, how can you stay grounded, focused, and strong? These Stoic keys will serve as your compass. Stick with us to the very end, because each principle we share is an essential piece in unlocking a life of serenity, resilience, and purpose. And if this video resonates with you, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, hit that like button, and drop a comment saying, "Keep it up." Now, let's dive in. Let's begin with our first insight. Don't talk about your challenges. This is the Stoic pathway to turning struggles into stepping stones. Greetings, fellow Stoic seekers. Today, we're reflecting on a powerful Stoic mindset that can shift the way you navigate difficulties in life. The principle is simple but profound. Don't talk about your challenges. At first glance, you might think, but isn't it good to vent sometimes? Don't I need to express my emotions to heal? And while there's value in healthy expression, the Stoics offer another perspective, one that revolves around resilience, self-mastery, and focusing on what's within our control. To the Stoics, challenges were inevitable. Life would always present trials, whether it's minor irritations or life-altering hardships. What truly mattered, they taught, was how we responded. Rather than fixating on our problems or giving them more power through constant talk, we are better served by responding with calm resolve and purposeful action. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king, once wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." In other words, every obstacle can become a stepping stone, if we choose to see it that way. This leads us to the idea of strength in silence. What does this look like in real life? It means resisting the urge to dwell on or constantly verbalize our problems. Instead, we focus on the solutions. We build inner fortitude. Think of a challenging work project. Talking about how hard it is won't make it any easier. It might even increase your sense of overwhelm. But if you quietly break it down into smaller, manageable steps, set clear goals, and move forward with steady action, you not only make real progress, but also build grit and confidence along the way. Perspective, another Stoic pillar, also plays a vital role. When we're immersed in difficulty, it's easy to lose our sense of proportion. But if we pause and take a step back, often we can reframe our situation or recognize that things aren't as dire as they seem. Stuck in traffic and feeling tense? Instead of complaining, try using that time to listen to something uplifting. Practice a few moments of mindfulness, or simply enjoy a moment of stillness. You might arrive at your destination feeling more grounded and centered, even if the journey wasn't ideal. So here's your Stoic challenge. The next time you face adversity, try a different path. Resist the instinct to vent or complain. Breathe deeply. Focus on your sphere of control and take decisive action. Cultivate that quiet strength that speaks louder than words. True power isn't found in the absence of struggle. It's found in your ability to meet that struggle with courage, self-command, and unwavering composure. Embrace this mindset, and not only will you face challenges more effectively, but you'll also deepen your sense of peace and resilience from within. Now, let's explore our second lesson. Don't reveal your secrets. This is the Stoic art of discretion. Welcome back, fellow seekers of wisdom. In this next powerful Stoic teaching, we explore a concept that can help you move through life with greater grace and clarity. The value of keeping your secrets. But let's clarify. This isn't about becoming cold or isolated, nor does it mean avoiding vulnerability altogether. Rather, it's about understanding the power of selective sharing and the wisdom that comes from protecting your inner world. The Stoics regarded our inner life, our thoughts, dreams, fears, and intentions as sacred. They understood that revealing these deeply personal elements to the wrong people could leave us vulnerable and even harmed. The philosopher Seneca once said, "If you want to keep a secret, keep it to yourself." He understood the harsh truth that not everyone will honor your truth with kindness or respect, and often the most painful wounds are inflicted by those closest to us. Think of your secrets as a precious gem, something beautiful and rare that deserves careful guardianship. By protecting what's most intimate to you, you build an inner sanctuary, a safe place within where you can think, feel, and be without fear of judgment or betrayal. This doesn't mean closing yourself off completely, but it does mean being intentional about who you trust with your most vulnerable thoughts. It's about fostering relationships built on true trust and mutual respect. There's also a deeper discipline at play here: the development of self-control. In a culture that rewards oversharing and instant exposure, learning to hold things back, to stay quiet until the right moment, is a profound strength. Imagine you're working on a personal project that excites you. Sharing your idea too soon might invite premature criticism, jealousy, or distractions. But by keeping your plans close until they're ready to be revealed, you preserve your clarity, energy, and creative momentum. So here's your Stoic challenge. Practice the art of discretion. Be thoughtful about what you share, when you share it, and with whom. Protect your inner landscape. Exercise your ability to wait, to hold, and to decide wisely. This isn't about being secretive. It's about honoring your own boundaries, valuing your own emotional space, and knowing who's truly earned the right to hear your heart. Master this, and you'll not only protect yourself from needless harm, you'll also gain a powerful sense of self-trust, peace, and personal sovereignty. Let's move forward to Lesson 3. Don't talk about your achievements. Embrace the quiet power of humility. Greetings once again, seekers of Stoic strength. This time, we're talking about success, specifically the importance of not boasting about it. Now you might wonder, shouldn't I celebrate my wins and share my joy with others? Of course, acknowledging your progress and feeling proud of your efforts is important, But the Stoic approach to achievement teaches us a more profound path, one of humility, internal satisfaction, and authentic character. The Stoics taught that real success doesn't come from accolades or recognition. It arises from within. They warned that openly bragging about your wins can lead to inflated ego, complacency, and sometimes envy or backlash from others. Epictetus wisely advised, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." In other words, let your life be the message. Let your consistency, effort, and service speak louder than any claim you could make. Picture a gardener who spent years nurturing a vibrant landscape. The beauty of the flowers, the richness of the soil, the harmony of the ecosystem. These speak volumes about the gardener's patience and skill. They don't need to shout their success. Their work tells the story. Similarly, when you dedicate yourself to growth and purpose, others will naturally take notice, even if you never say a word. In our modern world, especially with social media, it's tempting to showcase every milestone and crave the approval of others. But the Stoics would remind us that this pursuit of external validation is fleeting and fragile. True confidence comes from knowing your worth, regardless of who's watching. When you turn your focus inward, on learning, evolving, and doing your best, you'll develop a sense of fulfillment that no amount of likes or comments can provide. Here's your Stoic challenge. The next time you accomplish something meaningful, resist the urge to announce it for validation. Instead, pause. Reflect on the effort it took. Appreciate your journey, and then quietly move forward, ready to keep building, keep growing. Let your success be the result of your actions, not your announcements. In doing so, you'll cultivate humility, authenticity, and a lasting sense of pride that doesn't rely on applause. By living this way, without constantly talking about your struggles, your secrets, or your achievements, you embody the quiet, grounded strength of a true Stoic. And that, my friends, is a strength the world cannot shake. Take a moment to genuinely appreciate the effort you've invested and recognize how far you've come. Then, with quiet confidence, move forward to embrace your next challenge. Let your actions be the clearest and most powerful message you send. Always remember, real success isn't measured by applause or recognition. It lies in living a life rooted in purpose, honesty, and a constant desire to grow. When you embrace the Stoic value of humility, you don't just find deeper fulfillment, you also become a source of inspiration for others through your quiet resilience and steadfast commitment. Lesson 4. The strength in strategic silence. Why your next move should stay a mystery. Hey there, fellow Stoic in the making. Today, we're stepping into the world of strategy, patience, and the power of subtlety. We're exploring the Stoic idea of keeping your next move to yourself. Think of it like being a grandmaster in chess. You're making calculated moves without revealing your hand, while others are left guessing what you'll do next. Now, you might be wondering, but shouldn't I talk about my plans and dreams with people? Won't that help me stay on track and gather support? That's a valid thought. And yes, there are moments when sharing can be useful, but the Stoics emphasize that sometimes silence is the most powerful move. Keeping your plans close protects them and you. The Stoic view on planning for the future. The Stoics constantly reminded themselves to concentrate only on what they could control and to let go of what they couldn't. They recognized the unpredictable nature of the future and the potential pitfalls of speaking too soon about one's ambitions. Epictetus offered timeless advice when he said, "First, say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. Their philosophy leaned heavily on action rather than empty promises. Instead of talking about what you're going to do, just go out and do it. Why holding back can be powerful. There are solid reasons why the Stoics recommended keeping your future moves private. One reason is it helps you stay focused. When you tell others what you're planning, their reactions, whether supportive, doubtful, or overly inquisitive, can throw you off balance and shift your focus. By keeping your intentions private, you stay sharply aligned with your purpose. Another reason is to avoid what's known as premature gratification. Talking about your goals can sometimes trick your mind into feeling like you've already accomplished something. This false sense of achievement can lead to complacency and reduced drive. Staying quiet helps you remain hungry for real progress. And then there's the value of developing independence. Relying too much on others' encouragement or approval can stall your growth. By keeping your dreams to yourself, you strengthen your ability to trust your instincts, make decisions confidently, and take full responsibility for your journey. Living the lesson. Silence in action. Let's bring this concept into everyday life. Imagine you're building a side business you hope to one day turn into your main source of income. If you start talking about it too soon, even well-meaning people might offer discouraging opinions or express envy. Keeping your project low-key allows you to build without distractions and stay rooted in your vision. Or say you're preparing for a marathon. Telling everyone might create pressure to meet expectations even when you're not quite ready. But if you quietly train, focusing on your personal progress, you avoid unnecessary stress and remain centered on your goal. The Stoic challenge: use silence as strategy. Here's your challenge. Next time you feel tempted to share your dreams or plans, pause. Consider the Stoic approach. Ask yourself, will speaking about this help me move forward, or will it just invite distraction? Will sharing this empower me, or make me dependent on outside validation? Choosing silence doesn't mean being secretive or dishonest. It means being wise, intentional, and grounded. It's about giving your goals space to grow, away from noise and judgment. If you're gaining something from this message, be sure to subscribe, give a thumbs up, and drop "keep it up" in the comments. Lesson 5. Refrain from gossip, the Stoic way to a drama-free life. All right, Stoic squad, let's explore a lesson that calls for dignity and emotional discipline. Avoid talking about other people. In our world where gossip floods social media and headlines, it can seem like it's just part of everyday life. But the Stoics teach a different way. They believed real wisdom and peace come not from scrutinizing others, but from refining our own character and choices. The Stoic perspective on gossip. The Stoic path urges us to spend our energy on personal growth and contributing meaningfully to the world. Gossip doesn't build, it destroys. It spreads falsehoods, tarnishes reputations, and fosters division. As the great Stoic emperor Marcus Aurelius put it, waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be one. Stoics focused on living with honor, not on pointing out others' flaws. Focus inward instead of outward. Think about it. Every moment you spend speaking about someone else's behavior is a moment you're not using to improve your own life. It's like getting caught up in someone else's drama instead of living your own extraordinary story. Redirect that attention inward. Work on your thoughts, your habits, your purpose. By doing that, you become a source of light rather than a spreader of shadows. creating a better atmosphere around you. The Stoics also knew that our words and actions ripple outward. When we choose not to participate in gossip, we contribute to a more supportive and respectful environment. Picture a workplace or community where everyone is focused on their own goals and building each other up instead of tearing each other down. That kind of space breeds growth, joy, and productivity. The Stoic challenge: be above the drama. Next time you're tempted to join in on gossip or negative talk, pause, step back, choose the higher path, commit to your own evolution, practice empathy. Be someone who elevates rather than criticizes. True strength doesn't come from dragging others down. It comes from rising above and showing the way. When you focus on your own journey and resist the pull of negativity, you not only cultivate peace for yourself, but also inspire others to do the same. Lesson 6. Keep your good deeds quiet. The humble power of silent kindness. Hey there, Stoic seekers. Let's unpack a powerful idea for today. Resist the urge to talk about your good deeds. You might be thinking, but if I share my good actions, can't that encourage others? Or, isn't it okay to feel proud when I help someone? And yes, there's merit in those thoughts. But the Stoics offer a deeper lens, one that values humility, inner drive, and authentic virtue. What the Stoics teach about doing good. The Stoics believed that true virtue means doing the right thing simply because it's right, not for praise or recognition. They warned that bragging about good actions can turn into arrogance and diminish the value of the deed itself. Seneca captured this perfectly when he said, "The reward for a good deed is to have done it." The very act of doing good is its own reward. You don't need a pat on the back to validate it. The quiet beauty of kindness without words. Think of a serene stream winding through a forest, silently nourishing every living thing it touches. It doesn't announce its presence, yet its gentle current sustains life all around it. That's the spirit of unspoken kindness. When you act out of compassion without expecting recognition, your actions speak louder than any declaration ever could. People will see the goodness in you, not because you told them, but because they felt it. Beware the trap of chasing applause. In today's digital age, it's so easy to seek validation. We post about our generosity, our volunteer work, or our moments of kindness, hoping for likes and approval. But the Stoics remind us that virtue should be rooted in internal values, not external praise. When you focus on doing good purely for its own sake, you develop a deeper sense of compassion and humility. The reward becomes the act itself, not the attention it brings. The Stoic challenge: let your goodness speak through actions. Here's your challenge. The next time you do something meaningful for someone, resist the urge to tell the world. Instead, cherish that quiet joy that comes from knowing you made a difference. Let your actions become your message, your unspoken offering to a better world. Remember, real virtue doesn't seek the spotlight. It thrives in silence, integrity, and heartfelt service. When you embrace this Stoic view of humility, you don't just touch lives, you also discover a deeper, richer sense of inner peace and purpose. Lesson 7. The Stoic Shield. Guarding your weaknesses, building inner strength. Greetings, Stoic warriors. Lesson 7 explores a powerful principle in the pursuit of self-preservation and personal growth: the importance of not revealing your weaknesses. While modern society often encourages openness and emotional vulnerability, the Stoics offer a contrasting perspective rooted in strategic silence, deep self-awareness, and inner resilience. They understood that while recognizing our flaws is essential for growth, openly disclosing our vulnerabilities can make us targets for manipulation or unintended harm. Seneca, one of the great Stoic philosophers, once said that a person who reveals their weaknesses is like a city without defensive walls, unprotected and exposed. To understand this better, it's helpful to distinguish between flaws and weaknesses. Flaws are imperfections in our character, mistakes, bad habits, or tendencies that we can acknowledge and improve upon. Identifying our flaws is vital for self-betterment. Weaknesses, on the other hand, are the tender spots in our psyche, our emotional triggers and vulnerabilities. These are the areas others might exploit, whether knowingly or not, leading us to act impulsively or emotionally. The Stoics believed that real strength is not demonstrated by disclosing our struggles, but by facing them quietly and privately. By keeping our weaknesses to ourselves, we preserve our integrity and shield ourselves from potential exploitation. Think of a person who becomes easily overwhelmed by stress. If they speak of this frequently, others might intentionally or unintentionally add to their burdens. However, if that person silently works to develop coping strategies and emotional resilience, they gain greater control over stressful situations and exude a quiet, unshakable strength. Here's the Stoic invitation. Rather than focusing on your weaknesses or discussing them openly, use your energy to transform them. Allow silence to become your tool for growth. Reflect inwardly, recognize your vulnerabilities, and develop ways to fortify those areas. Let your progress be evident not through words, but through your strength of action. In this way, you cultivate authentic confidence and resilience, qualities that will serve you well when life tests you. Guarding your weaknesses is not a sign of fear, but a mark of wisdom and strength. If this message resonates with you, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, leave a thumbs up, and drop a "keep it up" in the comments below. Lesson 8. The Unspoken Dream. Nurturing your aspirations in the quiet of your heart. Welcome, dreamers and visionaries. In this lesson, we dive into the deeply personal realm of dreams and aspirations, but with a Stoic perspective. This time, we explore why it can be powerful to keep your most cherished dreams private, nurturing them quietly within the sanctuary of your heart. You might ask, shouldn't sharing dreams with others help with motivation and accountability? Absolutely, there is value in confiding in trusted allies. However, the Stoics also believed in the quiet power of restraint. They taught that dreams grow best in silence, sheltered from premature exposure and the turbulence of external opinion. Central to Stoic philosophy is the focus on controlling what lies within and accepting what does not. Dreams are beautiful and inspiring, yet they are also fragile. Sharing them too early or with the wrong people can invite doubt, skepticism, or even ridicule. Seneca reminded us that the greatest obstacle to living is waiting for tomorrow while neglecting today. The Stoics emphasized acting in the present, moving steadily toward goals without getting swept up in fantasy or future promises. So why is it wise to keep your dreams to yourself? First, doing so protects your inner vulnerability. Dreams often intertwine with our deepest sense of identity. Revealing them too soon can leave us feeling exposed, especially if others respond with negativity. By keeping your dreams private, you create a nurturing space where they can evolve, untainted by external judgment. Second, it maintains intrinsic motivation. The Stoics believed that genuine drive comes from within, not from outside approval. Once you share your dream, there's a risk that you'll become more invested in the reactions of others than in the dream itself. Guarding it preserves your connection to your own passion and keeps your fire burning brightly from within. Third, it cultivates patience and resilience. Big dreams don't manifest overnight. They require perseverance and time. Sharing them too early may set unrealistic expectations and lead to disillusionment if progress is slow. By keeping them close, you stay grounded, able to celebrate small wins and push through obstacles with enduring strength. Let's take this philosophy into the real world. Imagine you're quietly planning to start a non-profit organization to uplift underserved communities. Sharing that vision too soon might attract doubt or dismissive comments. But if you work silently, laying the foundation first, you protect your mission and remain focused on what truly matters. Or maybe you're an artist working tirelessly in private to hone your craft. Exposing your work prematurely could invite criticism that shakes your confidence. But by waiting until you're ready, you give your creativity the space it needs to blossom into something truly your own. So here's your Stoic challenge. When excitement about a dream fills your heart, pause before you share it. Ask yourself whether speaking about it will help bring it to life, or if it might cause distractions or a dependence on others' validation. Remember, holding your dreams in silence isn't about secrecy. It's about sacredness. It's about giving your aspirations room to breathe and trusting your own inner compass to guide you forward. Let your actions, not your words, reveal the depth of your dreams. Lesson 9. The Sanctuary of Solitude, Embracing the Quiet Strength Within. Welcome, solitude seekers. In this final lesson of the series, we explore the profound importance of solitude, a space the Stoics regarded as sacred and essential for personal strength and clarity. In a modern world obsessed with constant connection, solitude is often misinterpreted as loneliness or something to be avoided. But the Stoics saw it as a gift, an opportunity to connect more deeply with oneself and draw from an inner wellspring of peace. To the Stoics, solitude was not about retreating from life, but about engaging more fully with oneself. They believed that the quiet moments away from society's noise are where the soul finds its voice. It's in solitude that we can reflect on our values, examine our fears, and build unshakable self-reliance. Seneca once said, "Loneliness is the poverty of self. Solitude is the richness of self." In this light, solitude becomes a refuge, not from others, but into the richness of your own being. Why did the Stoics choose to keep their solitude private? First, it preserves the sanctity of your inner sanctuary. These moments of quiet reflection are intimate and powerful. Sharing them too freely can weaken their transformative potential and make you feel unnecessarily exposed. Keeping solitude sacred allows you to protect the mental and emotional clarity that it cultivates. Second, it helps avoid misinterpretation. Not everyone sees solitude for what it truly is. Some may confuse it with antisocial behavior or emotional withdrawal. By keeping your practices private, you avoid the judgments of those who don't understand the strength that solitude brings. Third, it nurtures self-reliance. In solitude, you become your own source of inspiration, comfort, and direction. You build an internal compass that doesn't depend on the opinions or presence of others. When these moments are shared too casually, it can create a reliance on validation that weakens the very independence solitude is meant to develop. Let's ground this in everyday life. Suppose you've built a daily meditation practice that centers and calms your mind. Telling others might invite questions, doubts, or even skepticism that pull you away from the peace you've built. By keeping it to yourself, you maintain its sacred power. Or maybe you take long, reflective walks through nature that spark creativity and inner balance. If shared too widely, these walks could become social events, disrupting the quiet solitude that gives them meaning. Keeping them private preserves their unique magic. So here's your final challenge. Honor your solitude. Make time for it. Treat it as a sacred space and protect it as you would something precious. Whether through meditation, writing, nature walks, or quiet contemplation, let solitude become a place where your soul can breathe. It's not isolation. It's communion with your truest self. As we wrap up this journey through the 9 Stoic keys to outsmarting the noise of the world, remember that wisdom doesn't come from applause or comparison. It arises from inner strength, unwavering self-awareness, and a life aligned with your deepest values. By living these Stoic truths, you'll find yourself equipped to face life with grace, power, and peace. Keep learning, keep growing, and above all, keep shining the quiet, powerful light of your Stoic soul. Have you ever experienced the feeling of being constantly overlooked, even when you put forth your best effort? Have you ever wondered why some people seem to effortlessly attract attention, while others silently struggle to be noticed? Today, we are going to explore 9 powerful psychological strategies, all rooted in Stoic teachings that, once understood and applied, can elevate your influence and help you become a priority in any situation. If this is your first time on my channel, I ask for your support by subscribing and liking this video, as it helps me continue to create more content like this in the future. Among these strategies, there is one that stands out for its subtle yet profound impact, a tool that you may have unknowingly used yourself. Through the lens of Stoic philosophy, you will not only gain a deeper understanding of human psychology, but also learn how to transform the dynamics in your encounters, even in ordinary, everyday situations. I encourage you to stay with me until the end of this journey, because each strategy, each piece of this puzzle, complements the next. If you miss any of these elements, you risk missing the complete picture that they form together. If you share my passion for personal growth, please take a moment to click on the notification bell and subscribe. This commitment is essential, as the strategies we discuss here should be seen as tools to understand human behavior and navigate the complexities of social interactions in an ethical manner. These techniques aim to increase influence and awareness, allowing you not only to comprehend the subtleties of the human mind, but also to use that understanding to guide your actions and shape your relationships with others. Now, are you ready to uncover what has been hidden in plain sight? Together, let's decipher the secrets and strategies that have been operating in the shadows, waiting to be illuminated by the power of understanding. The first strategy centers on mastering emotions. Every individual, regardless of age or background, is influenced by emotions to some extent. They shape our actions, reactions, and interactions. However, few people have truly learned to master the art of understanding and subtly influencing emotions, not just within themselves, but also in others. This mastery, once attained, can position you as an essential figure in any social setting. It's well known that people are naturally drawn to stability, particularly emotional stability. And Stoicism teaches us the value of remaining calm, composed, and rational in situations where others might falter. When you demonstrate the ability to stay steady in the face of adversity, you instantly stand out, like an anchor in a stormy sea. Others will naturally seek your guidance, placing you on a pedestal. However, remember that this is not about suppressing emotions, but about understanding and channeling them effectively. As Epictetus once said, "We cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them." This is the essence of this strategy. By demonstrating control over your reactions, you inspire trust and confidence in others. You also gain the ability to subtly guide the emotions of those around you. If your calm words can soothe someone's anger, or if your empathetic sadness brings comfort to someone in pain, you become a lighthouse, drawing others to you. But this power is not a mere game. It is a responsibility that must be handled with care. There is a deeper level to this beyond simply radiating calmness. To truly excel, you must learn to read the emotional currents of any room, recognize unspoken feelings and respond to them. When you do this, you'll see how people become more receptive to you, not because you are manipulating them, but because you are genuinely understanding and connecting with their true essence. Now, with this understanding of emotions in your grasp, only one more strategy remains. Can you guess what it is? You might have been using it without even realizing it: the power of disengagement, or the ability to walk away when necessary. There is a subtle force in the act of moving away from a situation when it calls for it. This is not a sign of cowardice or indifference. It is a demonstration of self-worth and recognition of your own value. When you trust in your worth, stepping away from a situation becomes a choice, not a reaction. Many people associate attachment with care and commitment, but attachment can easily become a chain that keeps you bound to situations and people who do not appreciate you. Always being available, always giving, can diminish the value of what you offer. Others may begin to take your presence and contributions for granted. When this happens, the balance is disrupted and you risk becoming undervalued. It is not about playing hard to get, but about making yourself unforgettable. As Seneca once said, "It is not the man who has little, but he who yearns for more, who is truly poor." The willingness to step away from a situation is embracing the essence of this wisdom. It involves recognizing that there is power in self-respect and autonomy. When people sense that you are not bound by need or desperation, they start seeing you differently. They begin to understand that your time, your skills, or even your company is a privilege and not something they are entitled to. By mastering this strategy, you show the world that your presence is a gift, one that can be taken away at any moment. Paradoxically, by demonstrating that you can walk away, many will now desire you, seeing in that strength something rare. In a world where holding on is the norm, your detachment becomes your crown. Applying these strategies brings a host of benefits. When implemented correctly, they can elevate your influence, strengthen your relationships, and place you in a position where people not only prioritize you, but also genuinely value your company. However, it is important to be cautious. As Stoics, these tactics should serve as tools for influence when necessary, not as mechanisms for manipulation or attention-seeking. Authenticity and integrity are crucial in using these strategies. Without these, not only would the approach be ethically questionable, but it could also be counterproductive in the long run. Now let's consider the principle of reciprocity. Think about the last time a small gesture brightened your day: a surprise coffee from a colleague, a kind word from a friend, or an unexpected compliment. These seemingly trivial actions often leave a lasting impression because they touch on a powerful force in our human nature: reciprocity. This is the internal impulse that drives us to give back when someone shows us kindness beyond what is expected. Recognizing and harnessing this force can transform the way people perceive you and how they relate to you. As the philosopher Seneca once said, "While we teach, we learn." This perfectly captures the essence of reciprocity. By offering value, ideas, or even small favors without expecting anything in return, you sow seeds of goodwill. Over time, these seeds grow into relationships where people are inclined to support you, help you, and prioritize your needs. They may not even fully understand why they feel compelled to reciprocate, but there is an invisible bond created by genuine generosity. However, this strategy must be handled carefully. There is a fine line between genuine acts of kindness and manipulation. The key is sincerity. When you offer help or share knowledge selflessly, people will recognize your authenticity. When they sense that your intentions are genuine, the ties of reciprocity become stronger. On the other hand, if they detect hidden motives, trust is eroded and the connection will fade. As you reflect on this principle, be ready for the next strategy, which invites you to look inward, a place that is often overlooked but immensely powerful. Mastering persuasive storytelling is a strategy that many overlook. Have you ever struggled to express your point of view and wondered why some ideas stick in people's minds while others fade into obscurity despite their merit? The answer may be simpler than you think: storytelling. Before technology, before modern education, and even before written language, there was storytelling. From ancient bonfires to today's viral videos, stories have been the unseen force that shapes opinions, drives actions, and changes minds. Epictetus wisely pointed out that men are disturbed not by the things that happen to them, but by the way they perceive them. It all comes down to perception. When you frame your message within a story, you offer a lens through which others can interpret the situation, guiding their thoughts and reactions. The beauty of storytelling lies in its ability to make listeners feel as though they are part of the narrative. This evokes empathy and makes your perspective resonate on a personal level. For example, if you're trying to persuade a team to take on a challenging project, instead of listing facts and figures, you could tell a story about how pioneers faced similar obstacles and emerged victorious. By drawing parallels between their struggles and the current task, you show that while the road ahead may be difficult, the rewards, both tangible and intangible, are worth the effort. Suddenly, the project is no longer just another task. It becomes a noble pursuit, and who doesn't want to be the hero in their own story? However, the power of storytelling must be wielded with authenticity. People can tell when a narrative is contrived or when it's simply designed to manipulate. The goal is to find real, genuine connections and emotions. When authenticity is combined with the art of storytelling, it creates an unbeatable combination that ensures your voice is not just heard, but also remembered. But stories are just one piece of the puzzle. Our next strategy explores a principle so deeply embedded in human nature that it can open doors once thought closed. Now, let's discuss the importance of prioritizing yourself. Have you ever noticed how some people seem to command a room without saying a word? Their mere presence demands respect. This magnetism doesn't come from external factors, but from an internal belief in their own value. The cornerstone of influential power lies not in seeking validation from others, but in recognizing your own intrinsic worth. As Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not external events." Understanding this concept is the key to unlocking your inner strength. When you recognize and nurture your self-worth, you naturally project an aura of self-confidence. This is not about arrogance or an inflated ego, but a genuine appreciation for who you are, your strengths, and your potential. When you value and prioritize yourself, the world begins to reflect that feeling back to you. Self-confidence is not about being arrogant or having an inflated sense of ego. Rather, it is about genuinely valuing and appreciating oneself, recognizing one's strengths, potential, and worth. When you prioritize yourself and understand your inherent value, the world begins to reflect that inner belief. This self-assurance is not about being self-centered or dismissing others, but about achieving balance. Just like the principle of reciprocity, which thrives on genuine gestures of goodwill, true self-love emerges from sincere introspection and self-respect. By investing time and energy in your own well-being, whether through learning, self-care, or setting boundaries, you signal to the world that you are worth this investment. This, in turn, influences how those around you perceive and prioritize you. Prioritizing yourself, therefore, becomes a foundational pillar of power. While influence is a significant part of it, it is only a small piece of the broader psychological strategies at play. As we move forward, another technique that can help you master the emotional fluctuations of relationships comes into focus: transforming adversaries into allies. In a world filled with noise and constant attempts to be heard, the simple, powerful act of truly listening stands out. Every individual, regardless of their background or situation, has a deep need to be understood. In a noisy world, offering someone your undivided attention is not only an act of kindness, but a powerful strategy that differentiates you from others. As the ancient philosopher Epictetus wisely observed, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we should listen twice as much as we speak." This maxim captures the essence of active listening. Many people simply wait for their turn to speak, but a skilled listener goes deeper, engaging with the words, emotions, and hidden intentions behind the speaker's message. By adopting this practice, you become a beacon of trust and respect in a sea of distractions. Offering a safe space for people to express themselves freely not only helps you understand their thoughts and desires, but also fosters an authentic connection. This connection positions you as someone others turn to for guidance and support, which, in turn, gives you significant influence over their lives. Listening authentically ensures that you are not just heard, but that your presence is valued and you are more often prioritized. Creating a sense of scarcity is another potent strategy rooted in human nature. Scarcity taps into an age-old instinct, the attraction to what is rare, elusive, and hard to attain. Just as a rare gem is more valuable than a common stone, people and experiences that are perceived as scarce are often held in higher regard. This doesn't mean playing games or being deceptive. Rather, it is about understanding the intrinsic human appeal of the uncommon. Imagine being in a meeting where everyone is eager to speak and be noticed, and then someone enters, makes a brief yet significant impression, and leaves soon after. The memory of this person lingers in people's minds, far more than the ones who stayed for the entire duration. By not being constantly available, you create an aura of importance around your presence. Every interaction becomes a valuable exchange, a moment that people will remember. Marcus Aurelius once remarked that, "Very little is needed for a happy life. It is all within you, in the way you think." This perspective embodies the concept of scarcity, When you recognize and value your own time, others are more likely to do the same. However, the key is balance. Being too scarce can backfire, just as being too available diminishes your value. The optimal approach is to be present when it counts, making those moments meaningful, and then retreating to focus on your own goals and well-being. Cultivating an air of mystery is another powerful tool in your arsenal. Human beings are naturally drawn to what is unknown, mysterious, and enigmatic. This universal curiosity can be transformed into an asset when you learn to maintain an element of mystery about yourself. It's not about being distant or aloof, but about strategically choosing what to reveal and when. There is a delicate balance between being engaging enough to capture others' attention and preserving just enough intrigue to keep them curious. Marcus Aurelius wisely noted that the goal of life is not to conform to the majority, but to avoid being among the foolish. In a world where oversharing is the norm, embracing a more reserved approach can help you stand out. People will pay attention when you speak and value your opinions more deeply. However, maintaining a sense of mystery does not imply dishonesty or manipulation. Authenticity remains key. It's not about fabricating stories, but rather about mastering the art of timing, revealing just enough to keep others intrigued without oversharing. As others become more curious about you, they naturally begin to prioritize your presence and ideas. This approach isn't just about surprising people, it's about recognizing the subtleties in human actions and strategically using them for your benefit. In essence, cultivating an air of mystery allows you to rise above the noise, becoming an intriguing enigma to those around you. When this strategy is combined with true authenticity, it elevates you to a place where you are not merely noticed, but truly valued. By making others look forward to your actions, you ensure that your presence leaves a lasting impact, and your influence endures long after you have departed from a room. Another effective strategy involves the use of strategic silence. You've likely been in a situation, whether it was a heated debate, a tough negotiation, or even a casual conversation, where the urge to speak up seems overwhelming. Yet sometimes, the most powerful tool you can wield is the choice to remain silent. While silence may be viewed as passive, it can actually be an active force that helps steer the conversation, assert your presence, and command genuine respect. Many people mistakenly believe that power is found in dominating the conversation, but it is often the observer, the one who carefully considers each word and listens attentively, who truly influences the course of events. It's not about being the loudest or the most attention-grabbing. Think of the power of a pause. When you hold back, leaving a gap in the conversation, others begin to feel uneasy or anxious, scrambling to fill the silence. In that moment, they often reveal more than they intended. This gives you the opportunity to respond from a place of wisdom and clarity, as the philosopher Epictetus wisely noted. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. By practicing restraint in your speech, you position yourself as the orchestrator of the dialogue, directing it with precision. However, strategic silence isn't just about listening. It's about knowing when to speak and how to harness the power of your words. Each word you utter carries weight, and you must choose carefully when to speak and when to remain silent, ensuring your words have maximum impact. Words are more than just tools of communication. They have the power to shape perceptions and even alter realities. That said, using silence as a tool requires skill and balance. If you use it too often, it can come across as distant or disengaged. The key is to strike the right balance between active listening and moments of silence, making sure your interactions remain authentic and meaningful. Now, imagine the immense possibilities when you combine strategic silence with another powerful strategy, one that guarantees you won't just be seen, but remembered. By combining these tactics thoughtfully, you position yourself as someone who has both influence and staying power. Have you ever felt like you're wrestling against the universe, trying to bend reality to your will? You want things to happen your way, on your timeline. But let me tell you something. Life simply doesn't work like that. It's time to stop forcing outcomes. Take a breath. Embrace the teachings of Stoic philosophy, those ancient thinkers who discovered that true strength lies in accepting what we can't control. In today's video, I want to help you discover, through the lens of Stoicism, how to stop exhausting yourself by forcing things that clearly don't belong together. Instead, let silence be your guide. Learn to cherish the little things and allow life to unfold in its own rhythm. Because when you force life, all you gain is frustration. But when you let go, you discover peace. Isn't that what we're all searching for? Before we dive in, if you find these videos helpful, please hit that subscribe button and tap the notification bell so you never miss an insight. One of them might be the breakthrough you've been waiting for. Now, let's begin. To live fully in the present. There's something oddly freeing about realizing that you don't always have to push so hard. But don't worry, I'm not here to offer you some mystical formula that will fix every challenge or to tell you to give up and become indifferent to everything. No, the answer is far more subtle and often simpler than we care to admit. Let's start by talking about silence. That sometimes uncomfortable quietness that can feel like a competition to see who can go longest without speaking while keeping their sanity. But here's the secret. Silence isn't merely the absence of noise, it's a profound tool when used with intention. Picture yourself trying to complete a puzzle. If you're overwhelmed by the pressure to find the right piece, silence offers the space to clear your mind and gain a new perspective. In the chaos of modern life, we often overlook the power of a simple pause. Silence doesn't mean avoidance. It offers room to breathe and allow clarity to emerge. There's no need to force conversations or rush into decisions. Sometimes the best solutions surface when we simply allow a moment of stillness. Think of silence like the cooling period for a machine. It prevents overheating and allows for peak performance. Now let's talk about finding joy in simplicity. The Stoics taught that real contentment doesn't come from hoarding things or chasing huge accomplishments. It's found in appreciating what we already have. It's easy to fall into the trap of believing that happiness lies in the next milestone or that shiny new purchase. But have you ever noticed the comfort of a warm cup of coffee on a quiet morning, or the peace that comes from a friend's hug? Imagine you're constantly running toward more, like you're on a treadmill that never stops. The faster you run, the farther away your destination feels. But if you pause, just for a moment, and look around, you'll see there's beauty right where you are. You don't have to chase fulfillment. You don't need to follow someone else's rigid steps. Simplicity offers a way to rediscover happiness in daily life. Uncomplicated, yet deeply rewarding. So next time you're tempted to force something, a relationship, a career move, a personal goal, remember that silence and simplicity are your allies. These gentle moments of calm give you space to reconnect with a more honest kind of joy. At its core, Stoic philosophy reminds us that peace comes not from pressure, but from learning to live with appreciation in the now. And if you find yourself swept up in the frenzy of trying to make something happen, take a breath. Step back. Embrace the stillness. Enjoy the simplicity. Let life move on its own, without the burden of your constant demands. Because true peace doesn't come from chasing more. It comes from fully valuing what you already have. Have you ever paused to consider the unpredictable, ever-changing nature of life? It often feels like everything around us is dancing in a chaotic rhythm, twisting, turning, never staying still. And yet, there we are, standing in the middle of it all, doing everything we can to force things into alignment, desperately trying to mold reality to fit our expectations. But isn't it a bit absurd to expect a river to change direction simply because it doesn't flow the way we want it to? Life, just like a river, has its own current. And more often than not, that current refuses to conform to our desires. Change is the only constant. It might feel unfair, even disorienting, but it's a truth we cannot ignore. Picture life as a play where the script constantly changes mid-scene and the actors must improvise their lines. If you cling to a fixed storyline, frustration is inevitable. The Stoics urge us to greet change with a calm heart. Holding on to what's beyond our control is like squeezing sand in your hand. The tighter the grip, the faster it slips away. Now, I'm not here to make you feel bad for wanting control. I'm here to offer an alternative, a more compassionate and realistic way to navigate life's unpredictability. Rather than resist the natural ebb and flow, why not learn to dance with it? This shift begins by valuing the present moment, those quiet, fleeting instants we often overlook while obsessing over the future or replaying the past. Think of these moments as glimmers of sunlight on a cloudy day. Each one holds a unique brilliance, if only we take the time to notice. Don't let worry or regret rob you of your ability to enjoy what's in front of you. If the present is truly a gift, why do we so often treat it like a burden? Let go of the pressure to force things into place. Forcing a puzzle piece where it doesn't belong only damages the whole. Life presents situations and people that may seem out of sync, but that doesn't mean we must immediately make them fit. Accept that not everything is meant to be forced. Sometimes the wisest path is to move forward, to release what doesn't align, and continue with grace. This is where patience plays its vital role. But patience isn't just passive waiting. It's a deliberate, steady rhythm that allows us to grow while the world catches up to us. If you find yourself stuck in a situation that won't budge, use that time to reflect and prepare. Let patience become your strength, your silent act of resilience. It's an active, empowered way of dealing with uncertainty, calmly, intentionally, without losing hope. And above all, remember this: life isn't a puzzle to be solved, but an experience to be lived. Each challenge, each twist, each unexpected turn, it's all part of the story. Instead of forcing a specific path, learn to find beauty in the detours. Trust that even the unpredictable has something to teach you. So stepping back from the need to control doesn't mean giving up. It means adjusting your perspective. It means embracing life's impermanence with a flexible and open heart. Rather than fight the current, learn to float with it. You might be amazed at how much you enjoy the journey once you stop trying to master every ripple. You can't force the river, but you can learn to sail its waves. Let's talk about acceptance. How many times have you watched someone try to jam a square peg into a round hole? It's painful to watch. Or maybe you've seen someone maybe even yourself, clinging to a relationship that's clearly more shattered than a phone dropped from 10 stories high. Yet still, we try, we push, we hope we can bend reality just a bit more. We spend so much time trying to alter things that are completely beyond our control, and while we're struggling, the world goes on, waves crashing, winds blowing, and life flowing, without paying us any mind. But here's the thing. Acceptance is not defeat. It's not surrender. In fact, it's a kind of quiet power. It's the strength to face life with the composure of a monk and the clarity of a freshly cleaned window. Acceptance doesn't mean we give up and wait for miracles. It doesn't mean we resign ourselves to fate with a shrug. No, it means recognizing that we are on the battlefield of life, and instead of trying to reshape the terrain, we choose to master the tools we've been given. Imagine for a moment that you're in the middle of a chess game. The pieces are already placed on the board, and no matter how much you wish otherwise, you can't simply rearrange them at will. You can't just say, "Perfect, I'll move this pawn to a winning spot," as if the game followed your desires. That would be a bit unrealistic. What you can do is observe the board with clarity, analyze your available moves, and make decisions based on the actual state of the game. That's what acceptance is. It's seeing the board exactly as it is and making your moves accordingly, not trying to change the fundamental rules of how the game works. This mindset is deeply aligned with Stoic philosophy. The Stoics taught that real strength comes from our ability to accept the things we cannot alter and focus instead on how we respond. Epictetus, a wise Roman philosopher, once said something that still echoes through time. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. That's like having an internal compass, a quiet force within that keeps you steady even when life rages like a storm. Now you might be thinking, sure, all of this sounds great in theory, but how do I actually do this in real life? The answer: accept and don't force. Let me share a little mental trick. Picture life as a dance. Sometimes the rhythm of the music changes unexpectedly, pulling you off balance. Instead of insisting on dancing as if the beat stayed the same, learn to feel the shift and adjust your steps. If you stubbornly stick to the old rhythm, you'll find yourself out of sync, stepping on your own feet, frustrated and exhausted. But if you flow with the new melody, you can continue to enjoy the dance. So, how do you bring this into your daily routine? Begin by identifying what's truly outside your control. You can't control traffic jams, but you can decide whether to sit there in frustration or enjoy a good podcast while you wait. You can't control other people's attitudes, but you can choose how you respond to them. Rather than trying to force reality to match your ideal version of it, accept it for what it is and adjust your expectations accordingly. In the end, acceptance isn't a sign of defeat. It's a mark of true strength. It's a conscious act of mental clarity and inner calm, a way to stop draining yourself by struggling against forces beyond your control. It's a gentle but firm reminder that wisdom lies not in forcing outcomes, but in accepting, adapting, and moving forward. As Marcus Aurelius wisely said, "If you cannot change the direction of the wind, adjust your sails to reach your destination." Now, let's talk about letting go. Have you ever pushed a door with all your strength, only to realize that it says pull? That frustrating, humbling moment perfectly illustrates what it feels like when you try to force something that just isn't meant to work. Letting go doesn't mean giving up on everything or surrendering like a sailor adrift in hopeless waters. It actually means having the insight to recognize what's beyond your control and embracing that truth with both serenity and common sense. Of course, that's easier said than done. Let's bring in a bit of Stoic wisdom here. The Stoics believed that genuine inner peace comes from accepting the things we cannot change. Think of your life as an art gallery. There are parts of the paintings you can modify, maybe the frame, the lighting, but the core of the image, the subjects themselves, are already there. Trying to repaint what's fixed on the canvas is just a waste of energy. It's like trying to change the weather. Imagine you go all out, buy clothes for every season, invest in skin creams for all kinds of climates, download every weather app, but still, the weather does what it wants. Life is like that too. Forcing things that resist change is like trying to make a cactus bloom in the Arctic. Impractical and harmful. So how can this lesson guide your everyday life? Start by clearly identifying what you can and cannot control. For instance, if you're in a relationship that's obviously reached its end, pushing to keep it going is like pouring gas into a car without an engine. Accepting when something has run its course frees you from unnecessary burdens and opens up space for new possibilities. Here's a simple but powerful technique. Write a list of everything you're currently worried about. Then, beside each item, note whether it's something you can take action on or something that's completely out of your hands. It's not a magic fix, but it can help you see more clearly where to invest your energy and what to release. Ultimately, letting go is a form of liberation, not defeat. It's not weakness, but wise, practical living. It's like cleaning out your closet and finally getting rid of all the clothes you never wear. Sure, it might sting a little in the moment, but afterward you'll feel lighter and more ready for whatever comes next. Life doesn't always match our plans or expectations, and that's okay. Recognizing that some things are simply beyond our control allows us to live more fully without constantly being upset by what we can't change. So next time you find yourself pushing on a door that clearly needs to be pulled, remember this. Sometimes the best way forward is by letting go. Letting go isn't weakness. It's courage. It's choosing peace over struggle. Now let's explore mindfulness. Have you ever tried to open a door by pushing with all your strength, only to realize it was meant to be pulled? That's exactly how we tend to approach life when we try to force things. We strain, we get angry, and if we're lucky, all we get in return is a bruised ego. But what if I told you there's a simpler, gentler way to open life's doors? One that doesn't require breaking yourself in the process. Enter mindfulness. For English speakers, it's like having a user manual for your own mind. Picture yourself at a cafe, sipping a warm drink. Instead of worrying about that looming bill or the email that won't go away, you just savor the aroma, the feel of the cup in your hand, the taste on your tongue. It's a moment of complete presence, an invitation to witness your thoughts and emotions without assigning them dramatic, doomsday meanings. This may sound like some mystical trick, but really, it's a simple and highly effective practice. Mindfulness is like mental training to become an observer rather than a judge. Instead of wrestling with your emotions or thoughts, you acknowledge them, observe them, and let them drift by without becoming tangled in their drama. You become the spectator of your own mental theater, watching scenes play out and fade without jumping into every act. And once again, the Stoics were already there. These ancient thinkers knew it wasn't about bending the world to your will, but about learning to shape your reactions. Mindfulness is the tool that lets you do this without losing your mind. To bring it into focus, Imagine how your life would feel if you weren't so rigid in your expectations. If, rather than forcing things to go your way, you learned to adapt and flow with circumstances, you'd likely experience less stress and a deeper sense of peace. Picture yourself stuck in traffic. You could yell and honk as if that'll move cars faster, or you could accept the delay, enjoy a good podcast, and relax. The outcome is the same, but your experience changes completely. To make mindfulness part of your routine, begin with small steps. Spend a few minutes each day simply observing your thoughts and feelings without judgment. Ask yourself, how do I feel right now? And just let the answer be. No need to act on it, just notice it. Also, practice patience. Don't try to force every situation to meet your will. Adjust your approach according to how life unfolds. It's too short to spend it wrestling with every obstacle. Instead of charging like a bull into every challenge, be the calm sailor who lowers the sails and waits for the wind to shift. Remember, mindfulness isn't some magic shield against life's problems. It's a compass that helps you stay steady when the world sways. So next time you feel the urge to push something that won't budge, pause, breathe, observe, adapt. You might just find that life is a lot smoother when you're not busy breaking down doors. And engrave this deep in your heart. To live peacefully with the world, you must first make peace within yourself. Now, let's reflect on silence. Have you ever heard the saying, "Silence is golden"? The ancient sages who coined that phrase weren't wrong. Silence isn't just the absence of noise or a pause in conversation. It's a deeply powerful instrument. In a world buzzing with constant chatter and endless urgency, silence becomes a sanctuary. It's where we find clarity, where our deepest questions start to find answers. But don't get confused. We're not talking about that awkward silence that fills the room when someone brings up a touchy subject, like your aunt asking why you're still single. No, we're referring to a silence that is genuine and intentional. A silence that draws you closer to yourself and to the heartbeat of life itself. Imagine standing in the middle of a violent storm, the wind roaring, waves crashing, everything in chaos. And in the midst of all that noise, you realize the only place where peace exists is within the quiet you carry inside. The key to surviving life's storms lies in staying calm, adjusting your course, and resisting the urge to get swept away. Now imagine applying that same mindset to your everyday life. Instead of being pulled in every direction by the chaos of your thoughts and emotions, consider using silence as a tool to regain your balance. Silence doesn't always mean the absence of sound. It can be as simple as pausing to take a deep breath and watch your thoughts come and go without judgment. Think of your mind as a cluttered room. Silence is the time you take to clean it up and bring order to the mess. When you allow yourself a moment of quiet, you create the space necessary to reflect and gain clarity. In doing so, you start to see that many of the things you once thought were urgent or essential aren't actually that significant. Stoic philosophy teaches that true peace and wisdom come when we stop trying to control the uncontrollable and instead focus on what's truly within our power. Silence helps you make that distinction between what truly matters and what is simply noise. Often, we fall into the trap of trying to force outcomes, a conversation, a decision, even our own feelings. But silence has a strange power. It gently shows us that sometimes the best response is to do nothing at all. It's like trying to reset a clock that's already ticking just fine. What you really need is to stop meddling and listen to the rhythm instead of spinning your wheels without direction. Silence gives us a break, a pause to reflect on our priorities and to evaluate how we're handling our emotions. If you're always in motion, it's easy to lose track of what you actually want or need. Silence demands that you stop, take a breath, and reconsider. So how can you use silence effectively in your life? Begin by carving out just a few minutes a day solely for yourself. You don't need to engage in hours of meditation. Even a short period of quiet contemplation can make a difference. Find a peaceful spot, shut out distractions, and simply sit in silence. Watch your thoughts flow by, but don't get swept away by them. This simple practice can be as effortless as taking a walk without music or taking a quiet moment during your day just to breathe deeply. The goal isn't to force answers to appear, but rather to allow them to arise naturally. And silence doesn't always mean being alone. Sometimes sharing a quiet moment with someone close to you can say more than words ever could. Instead of feeling pressured to fill every pause with conversation, allow those shared silences to strengthen your bond. Ultimately, silence is a profound tool for clarity in a world full of noise. It's not about controlling or forcing anything. It's about creating space to truly listen to yourself and to life. Once you begin to value silence, you may find that the answers you've been seeking are already within you, just waiting for the chance to be heard. So next time you feel overwhelmed, remember that you don't always need to speak or act. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply be still and let life unfold naturally. As Carl Jung wisely said, silence isn't always empty, it's often overflowing with answers. Take a moment now to think about the idea of enjoying the journey rather than focusing solely on the destination. Have you noticed how in life we often become fixated on winning, on reaching that end goal, forgetting that the real treasure lies in each moment along the way? I'm referring to the everyday journey, those seemingly ordinary moments that make up your day-to-day existence. Stoic wisdom reminds us that when we try to force outcomes, we end up tangled in frustration and dissatisfaction. So let's explore how to genuinely embrace the journey without being consumed by the end result. Picture your goals as a bicycle ride. Imagine the wind brushing your face, the landscape changing as you go. But instead of enjoying the ride, you're so obsessed with the final destination that you forget to notice the flowers by the roadside, the thrill of the hills, or even the act of pedaling itself. All you see is the finish line, that elusive goal that keeps pulling your focus. Sound familiar? This way of thinking is problematic because when you try to rush the process, you wear yourself out before you even arrive. It's like trying to make a turtle sprint. You turn what could be a beautiful adventure into a draining chase. The Stoics advise that instead of pushing against the current, we should learn to move with it. In other words, find joy in the process, not just in achieving the outcome. The trick isn't to become indifferent or lazy, but to strike a balance between effort and presence. Think of life as a dance. If you concentrate only on nailing the final moves, you'll miss the rhythm and grace that make dancing joyful. Force the rhythm and you'll stumble. Move with awareness and ease, and you'll savor each step. To live this way, start by setting small, attainable goals. Don't wait until the big dream is fulfilled to feel accomplished. Celebrate your small wins. Each one is a step forward. Imagine you're building a cathedral. Rather than focusing only on the final structure, Learn to appreciate each brick you lay. Practice self-compassion too. If you find yourself pushing too hard, it's okay to step back and regroup. Life isn't a sprint, it's a marathon. And in a marathon, pacing yourself and enjoying the scenery is the key to lasting the distance. This isn't about denying ambition, but about tempering it with wisdom. Like a skilled chef who doesn't rush to the end but delights in every ingredient and step of the process, you too should learn to savor every phase of your journey. That way, your final goal won't just be a finish line. It'll be the culmination of an experience rich with meaning and growth. As the old saying goes, life is a journey, not a race. Learn to enjoy every moment because, ultimately, those moments are all you truly have. So take a deep breath, loosen your grip on the reins, and remember that every step, every pedal, every moment counts. Enjoy the ride. Now, let's talk about finding joy in the simplest things. Have you ever wondered why, despite all the advancements and comforts of modern life, we often feel emptier than ever? Maybe the answer doesn't lie in the latest gadgets or the pay raise you've been chasing. Maybe, just maybe, the secret lies in something much more humble, learning to find joy in simplicity. Stoic philosophy, with all its practical wisdom, reminds us that true happiness doesn't reside in big achievements or grand moments, but in the little details we often take for granted. Imagine sitting by a cafe window on a rainy day, sipping a hot cup of coffee. You could be rushing to a business meeting or trying to solve a family problem. But here, right now, you're doing nothing more than enjoying a warm drink while watching the raindrops trail down the glass. It's in these kinds of seemingly insignificant moments that the deepest contentment often lives. But how can that be? Isn't the extraordinary supposed to be more valuable? This is where Stoic wisdom steps in. The Stoics taught us to focus on the present and to appreciate what we already have. It's a mindset shift, a gentle letting go of the endless pursuit for more, and learning to see the value in what's right in front of you. It's like life offering you a menu full of beautifully simple dishes, but instead of savoring each bite, you keep chasing after the most elaborate option. So how do you start embracing simplicity and finding joy in it? First, you have to stop trying to force life into a certain shape. The Stoics teach that when we try to micromanage every piece of our lives, we end up locked in a never-ending chase for a happiness that always seems just out of reach. Instead, accept what you have and find joy in that acceptance. Imagine wanting to bake a 5-layer cake, but your oven breaks and all you get is a single cookie. Rather than sulking over what's missing, enjoy the sweetness of that cookie. What may feel like a failure could simply be life's way of giving you exactly what you need in a simpler form. Gratitude also plays a vital role in this practice. Spend a few minutes each day thinking about what you already have and what you've already accomplished, no matter how minor it may seem. Appreciate the sunlight warming your skin, a friend's smile, or a quiet moment in the middle of a hectic day. These are the building blocks of a joyful life. When you learn to recognize and appreciate them, life becomes a series of small, meaningful joys rather than a relentless climb towards some far-off success. Joy isn't hidden in the distant future or found only in big wins. It's present, in the now, in the moments we so often overlook. Stoic philosophy reminds us to stop trying to force life to deliver more and instead to open our eyes to the gifts already around us. So next time you find yourself stuck in the grind of chasing what's next, pause. Your happiness might be sitting right there in a warm cup of coffee, in a heartfelt conversation, or simply in the peace of the present moment. As Oscar Wilde once said, "True wealth lies in mastering the art of enjoying life." And at the heart of that is the practice of gratitude. Ah, yes, gratitude, that often casually spoken word we use when someone hands us a slice of bread or gives us a compliment. But how often do we truly grasp its meaning? Gratitude isn't just a polite phrase or a sign of good manners. It's not a checklist item. It's a way of living, one that many of us have allowed to fade away in our mad rush for the next new gadget, the next milestone, the next validation of success. Picture life as a celebration, a grand party. Now imagine you're the guest who's so preoccupied with the fact that the DJ isn't playing your favorite track, you miss out on the food, the laughter, and the magic of the moment. That's how most of us live, consumed by what's missing, blind to what's already present. And this is where the true art of gratitude steps in. It's not just an attitude, it's a philosophy. A gentle yet powerful reminder to cherish the little things we tend to overlook. Those fleeting, simple moments that often go unnoticed because we're too busy scanning the horizon for the next big thing. The problem with constantly chasing more is that it breeds discontent. You end up measuring your days by what you lack, instead of honoring what you've been given. Let me share a secret. It's like trying to fill a bathtub with no stopper. The water keeps flowing, but it never fills. You're never truly satisfied. Stoic philosophy, however, offers us a more grounded approach. It teaches us to stop forcing life and start accepting it, to see and value things for what they are. Here's a metaphor that might help. Imagine you're at a restaurant and the dish served isn't quite what you ordered. You have two choices. You can complain, send it back, demand something else. Or you can look at what's in front of you, accept that it's not what you had in mind, and still savor the meal. That's gratitude. It's an active choice to embrace and appreciate what is, even when it doesn't match your expectations. Gratitude doesn't mean settling for a life that feels second best. It's not about giving up on your dreams. It means learning to celebrate the small wins, the quiet joys that show up unannounced in your everyday life. So instead of being upset that you don't own the latest car, why not appreciate the one that faithfully takes you where you need to go? Instead of focusing on what frustrates you about your job, why not recognize the doors it opens, the lessons it offers, the growth it provides? The key is to stop pushing so hard. If you constantly feel dissatisfied, it could be that your expectations have ballooned beyond what's real or necessary. Flexibility is a skill. Learn to bend with life, to find richness in the overlooked details. The Stoics call this the practice of acceptance and virtue, not as passive surrender, but as wisdom in motion. It's a kind of strength that finds serenity in the chaos. So the next time you feel overwhelmed or like life is lacking something vital, remember this. Gratitude is more than just saying thank you. It's living in a state of ongoing appreciation. It's recognizing the everyday blessings hiding in plain sight. It's choosing to enjoy the plate that's been served to you, even if it's not what you ordered. Because the truth is, what you really need is often already right there in front of you. As Marcus Aurelius wisely said, gratitude is the ability to find gold in the ordinary grains of sand. Now let's talk about solitude. Have you ever experienced that strange moment of realization that you're completely alone? Not in the cozy sense of being home with a warm drink and a good book, but in that deeper, almost existential awareness. Oh no, I am a lone soul in this vast, silent universe. If you've felt that, let me reassure you, you're not actually alone in feeling that way. And in fact, solitude, real, unfiltered solitude might just become one of your greatest allies if you allow it. Let me be clear. This isn't about brooding in a dark room or drowning in a quiet so heavy it becomes haunting. No, this is about the golden opportunity to reconnect with yourself in a way that constant distraction can never offer. Society often treats solitude like a punishment. We're surrounded by movies and images of lonely people staring out cafe windows, waiting for something or someone that never arrives. But what if that whole image is flawed? What if solitude is actually an exclusive club open to all, but rarely entered by those too scared to be alone? The Stoics, with their focus on self-mastery and inner stillness, saw solitude as a gift, a sacred pause in the storm of life, a rare space where you can stop performing, stop pretending, stop pushing, and start listening to what your soul is really saying. Think of solitude not as isolation, but as a personal spiritual retreat. You don't need to board a plane to a distant monastery. The retreat begins the moment you give yourself permission to be still and to be enough. Here's the twist. How do you turn solitude into an ally, not an enemy? First, stop filling every second of your day with noise, tasks, and people. If you're always busy, you'll never hear yourself think. Solitude is like a testing ground, a quiet room where you come face to face with your own truth. It's like trying to cook a meal from whatever's already in your pantry. No running out for fancy ingredients. You begin to discover what's essential, what's real, what actually nourishes you. A powerful tool for this is meditation. And no, I'm not talking about folding yourself into impossible yoga poses or chanting mantras. Meditation can simply be the practice of sitting in silence, letting your thoughts rise and fall like waves. At first, this can feel awkward, like a blind date with a book you're not sure you'll like. But give it time. It has something to teach you. Another great practice? Journaling. No, you don't need to write the next best-selling novel. Just jot down what you're thinking, how you're feeling. When your thoughts hit the page, they start to organize themselves. Problems that seemed massive in your mind often shrink in the light of ink and paper. So the next time you find yourself alone, don't rush to fill the void. Don't grab your phone or search for someone to talk to. Instead, sit with it. Embrace the quiet. Let solitude speak. It's not a monster to be avoided. It's a mentor that wants to introduce you to your truest self. You don't have to force your way through life. You just need to create enough room for truth to surface, for clarity to emerge. Solitude is like that one friend who doesn't talk much but always listens when it matters most. So stop resisting. Welcome it. And if ever you feel lost in this journey, remember this. True connection begins the moment you learn to enjoy your own company. If you've made it this far, drop a comment saying, "Life is a gift," so I know you're one of the few who stayed to the end and are soaking in this wisdom. I'd love to hear your story. Don't forget to subscribe, turn on the bell, and comment to help this message reach more people like you. Stick around for more life-changing videos. And thank you so much for your time and support. See you on the next video.